back. Welcome in. It is the Rob Kendall Show. Hope you're having a great Monday. Thanks for spending it with us. Man, do we have a fun show for you guys today. We are going to talk about arguably one of the most corrupt politicians, maybe perhaps the most corrupt politician in the history of our state. I'm talking about Jamey Noel. Jamey Noel is the former Clark County sheriff. He was the chairman of the Republican Party in Clark County. Clark County is Jeffersonville area, southeastern part of the state, for those of you who don't know. He was a part of the power structure, one of the 20 most powerful Republicans at one point in our state. He was a right-hand man to the governor, Eric Holcomb. He was very close with Governor Mike Pence. He ruled southeast Indiana for decades. He was essentially like a mafia don. And there's a new documentary out on YouTube. It is available, WHAS Television, WHAS 11. It is fabulous. And when you get done here with us today, because we're going to give you a lot of the talking points here today, but would encourage everybody to go listen to it. It is just a really deep dive. It's called Tarnished the Badge, the Jamey Noel Story, about this guy's fall from grace. And coming up here in just a little bit, we are going to speak with Shawn Bostock, who is one of the stars of the documentary. Shawn Bostock is one of the guys who blew the whistle on Jamey Noel. He worked with Noel for years. He's a firefighter. And years before anybody was talking about Jamey Noel and the things he was alleged to have done, which now obviously he is in prison. He has said he did them. Bostock was begging somebody to look at this guy. And many of you know from the old radio show, we had Shawn Bostock on for years. Look, we were one of the few people originally who was covering the Jamey Noel saga. We were talking about it before anybody else, much like the Tom Kleinhelter deal. And look, only a fraction of the justice that should have been served has been served so far. And this new documentary really lays it all out about the abuse of power, about the abuse of the taxpayers, about how this guy used his position of trust and authority to enrich himself. And we'll get into this with Shawn a little bit coming up here. But I think the bigger question, when you watch this documentary and you realize this guy, and we talked about it for years, you had a guy who was a prominent, high-profile figure in Southeast Indiana. It was not like he was some guy living under the radar. He was the guy. And they make that very clear in this documentary. He was the guy. How this guy was living millions of dollars above his means, and nobody takes ownership of knowing anything about it. That's one of the things, other than guys like Bostock who were sounding the whistle on him. I mean, you watch this documentary and it's blatantly obvious that he was living a lifestyle that any person who knew him would pause and go, that doesn't make any sense. How are you doing this? I mean, he was... And like I said, we'll go into this within the interview. I don't want to spoil the interview, but we will go into this with Bostock about how close he was with Governor Eric Holcomb as both a personal friend and a political ally. How is it that the governor, who knows this guy super well to the point where he's checking in and watching Noel's kid, sees this guy living millions of dollars above his lifestyle, what is the lifestyle you would think based on the money he was publicly earning? It's the governor, for crying out loud. And no, never said, hey, how you doing that? The governor and his team of people, nobody looked into it. You know, one of the things that is fascinating when you watch this documentary on Jamey Noel are the similarities to what we saw with Diego Morales, or have seen with Diego Morales. Now, Diego Morales has never been charged with a crime. Obviously, Jamey Noel was not only charged, he pled guilty. But what I'm talking about is the brazen behavior, the obvious behavior, and nobody with an ability to do something about it did anything. I think that's the comparison to Diego Morales. I mean, I met Jamey Noel one time that I recall. It was when I first had started working for the state auditor. I met with him with the state auditor at a McDonald's down in Southeast Indiana. I mean, I had no idea. I just started. My job was drive the car, right? Make the schedule, drive the car. Go here. Here's who you're meeting with. Put it on the schedule. Okay, great. And we met with this dude for about 30 minutes. And this was very early on. Maybe he'd been there a week. I can't remember. And I walked out of that meeting, and I told the auditor, I was like, that guy is dirty as hell. I was like, you should never talk to him again privately. You should never meet with him again privately. You should always have a witness, like as in numerous witnesses, anytime you meet with that guy. I ain't no expert, but that guy's shady as hell. And when you see this documentary, you realize, damn, Rob was right again. Like, and so I think about this from my own experience and perspective. I had no idea who he was. Didn't know anything about the guy. He wasn't even the sheriff yet. This was before he was even the sheriff of Clark County. How is it that I, knowing nothing, can spend 30 minutes around this guy and be like, yikesies? Don't live down there, didn't know who he was, just a guy whose name was on the schedule. Drive here, meet this dude. Okay. How is it that I could see it after 30 minutes, and yet all of these people who were political allies, personal confidants, all of these things of Jamey Noel get to do the me so stupid routine? Well, Jamey said do it, so he did it. Everybody loved Jamey. Really? I find that very hard to believe that this guy was essentially running a mafia-type enterprise down in Southeast Indiana for years and nobody knew anything. One of the great stars of the documentary is Jeff Heron. You know him. He's the guy that broke from state police, who broke the Kleinhelter story, who put the 80-page probable cause affidavit against Tom Kleinhelter that was conveniently ignored by the special prosecutor after Mike Braun was elected. Tom Kleinhelter, of course, the sheriff of Du Bois County, Mike Braun's home county. You guys know that story. We've told it numerous times about how state police under Doug Carter put together an 80-page probable cause affidavit that Kleinhelter was misusing commissary money after a state board of accounts investigation. And they believe they were headed for an easy indictment, and then Mike Braun becomes governor, and all of a sudden his buddy goes scot-free. Anthony Scott, the state police superintendent now, so no pun intended with that. But one of the things that Jeff Heron is one of the stars of the documentary because he was put on the Noel case. And he talks about this in the documentary, about how fast they had to move in their investigation because Noel had been doing this for so long, this criminal behavior, they were worried the statute of limitations was going to expire. When you watch this documentary, even if you take Noel out of the equation, which is hard to do since the documentary is about him, but one of the things you realize is, especially when you factor in Kleinhelter and these other sheriffs that we've talked about at length on our show over the past couple of years, and all the alleged criminal conduct they've been a part of, the sheriffs in Indiana have too much power and too little oversight. There is no doubt there has to be major reforms and oversight to how sheriffs operate in Indiana. There was no oversight on Jamey Noel. It's abundantly clear, both as sheriff and then this nonprofit fire EMS entity that he put together, that he was making money off of. It's abundantly clear this guy was doing whatever the hell he wanted to do. Nobody was stopping him. I think most people knew what he was doing, and they just didn't have the courage to speak up. And who knows who was getting what out of that. And so you're left with, when you see the brazenly corrupt and illegal, in many cases, behavior from these sheriffs that have been highly documented, And then you throw Noel in the mix, and you realize there has to be major reform to how our sheriffs are overseen, the checks and balances, the oversight. By the way, they do go into the documentary. I was correct. The only person at a local level who can arrest the sheriff is the coroner. So we're going to talk with Shawn Bostock coming up in a little bit about that. And we have a major issue in this state. And you have to say it's really a Republican issue, but it's also a Democrat issue because look at Hogsett, in which we just flat out refuse to hold these people accountable. It's obvious what they are. It's obvious what they're doing. And they believe they're untouchable. And we talked about, I have a very good friend who worked in state government for well over a decade. And he told me, a very respected individual, he said, Rob, he said, one of the lasting legacies of COVID. Now, the Jamey Noel stuff was happening way before COVID. But one of the lasting legacies of COVID is these politicians learn if we can shut down society, if we can cost people their jobs, if we can cost people their paychecks, if we can lock them in their homes, we can force them to wear a mask, we can shut down the restaurants, we can close businesses. Look, there really was no resistance of anything meaningful. The politicians realized if we can get away with that without any sort of meaningful resistance, there isn't much we can't do. And so I think you have seen an elevation of corrupt, unethical behavior in a post-COVID world because the politicians recognize, one, there's fewer and fewer and fewer media outlets to cover them, to expose them. And two, the bar has been set so low in terms of accountability, in terms of justice. And that's why when we see things like Kleinhelter get away scot-free despite the 80-page probable cause affidavit. Now, of course, he is facing charges related to Ryan Mears getting him on lying to state police about the investigation. But in terms of the actual thing itself, as of right now, he is going to just walk on that. And the message is clear to these politicians. We do what we want. We're the boss. The reason Diego did all of this stuff brazenly was he believed, rightfully so thus far, no one will hold him accountable. I mean, it's not like he hid it. It's not like it was hard to find it, whether it was disappearing to India or the no-bid contracts or making a political commercial using state resources. I mean, even go further back, voting in a county different from where he took his homestead credit. The endless list of stuff. Why did he do it openly? Because he didn't fear any retribution. He's being proven correct. What are the Republicans doing? Sure, they got him off the ballot. They beat him at the convention. But they're just letting him go about his business. No one's talking about him now. And it usually works. And it is, again, because the media, other than right here, is pretty much done talking about Diego. There is a complete lack of accountability from inside our political parties. It's also true of the Democrats. Look at Joe Hogsett. Look at the reports that have come out on Hogsett, whether it's the Thomas Carl Cook stuff, where he clearly knew of the behavior of his right-hand guy, Thomas Carl Cook, did nothing about it as it related to Cook using his position to manipulate subordinates into romantic engagements with him. Of course, this has now sparked a grand jury investigation in Marion County, according to various media outlets, including The Star. You see the latest on Hogsett, where these mega donors, allegedly, according to Indy Star Mirror Indy, presented wish lists for city contracts, city projects to the office. Nothing ever happens. Hogsett disappeared during the riots. Nothing ever happens. Hogsett allegedly got beat up by his trash can. Nothing ever happens. Hogsett shows up on stage at an event. He's slurring his words. Nothing ever happens. I mean, it's bipartisan. It's not a Republican or Democrat thing. It's a both thing. The politicians don't fear you. Not fear in the sense of a physical fear, of course. but fear you in the sense that you're going to do anything about it, that you're going to mobilize, that you're going to upset the power structure. And that's what it's all about. Look, quite frankly, the Republicans are fine with Marion County being the way it is. Let's just say the quiet part out loud. The Republicans, statewide Republicans, are fine with Marion County being the way it is. They never do anything to fix it. They never do anything to stop it. And they're okay with consolidating the Democrat power base to one or two counties so they can have the rest. Sure, the capital city went to hell. I mean, I went to see my good friend of our show, Ben Verbanek from WTHI Television on Saturday, and we were downtown, always during the day, not at night. Better chance of survival. But we were talking about how the vibe, for lack of a better term, around downtown, it's non-existent. It's depressing. It's dystopian almost. It stinks downtown. Like, it used to not be that way. It's been run into the ground, which, by the way, to quote Diego Morales, and by the way, remember how we're being sold the Bears Stadium and how that's going to save the region? Well, we have Lucas Oil Stadium. It was a stone's throw from where I was on Saturday. It didn't look like a power hub of economic activity on a decent Saturday afternoon in the summertime. But the point of all of this is both parties are fine with the way it is. Both parties freely accept how things are because they get their own little corners of power. And they don't believe you'll do anything about it. Which brings me to my next topic, which is that tomorrow, Greg Ballard is going to turn in his verified signatures. They still don't have a final count. Not all the counties had finished their tallies as of their last reporting, but they're over 41,000 signatures. My guess would be by the time it's all done, they'll be over 42,000. Don't know for sure, probably though. And tomorrow at 10:30, he's going to turn in his signatures at the Statehouse. And it will be one of the most significant events in Indiana political history. And depending on how the election goes, in which Ballard doesn't even have to win to be a resounding success based on the ballot access implications, it could be the most important event in Indiana government history. And, one of the things that I was thinking about over the weekend, I saw the Ballard people put out the announcement that at 10:30 tomorrow, they're going to turn in the signatures. I'm sure they'll have some big sort of, presentation with that, which they need to. They need to hit a home run on that presentation of the, whatever it is, 42,000 signatures, because they'll have a lot of eyeballs across the state on them. And it's going to be a great chance for them to show the public, to reach the far corners of the state. Look, Ballard's going to do fine in central Indiana. He's probably going to struggle to gain traction in the corners of the state. I mean, he's very well known here, not so much everywhere else. And he's going to have to introduce himself to people, which means he's going to have to fundraise. He's going to have to raise money. And this is an opportunity for him to do that with the signature presentation. You can make 42,000 signatures look amazing. And, one of the things that I was thinking about as they made their announcement that they were going to do this signature drive was how wrong Republicans were about Greg Ballard getting those signatures. Republican lawmakers, Republican elected and appointed officials. How just blatantly wrong they were about Greg Ballard getting those signatures. And not only were they wrong about it, they were, I guess, brazenly wrong, like arrogantly wrong. And to me, again, it's sort of like the Jamey Noel thing. I ain't no expert. I'm just a guy who plays one on the radio, right? I'm always told Rob doesn't know anything. I knew from the moment Ballard announced he was going to get those signatures because common sense tells you Greg Ballard is 71 years old. He's remembered as the mayor of Indianapolis. And every day Hogsett is the mayor, Ballard gets more fondly remembered. There was no way Greg Ballard was going to risk that legacy to be remembered as the guy who couldn't get signatures to get on the ballot. Like that, it was just obvious. And I'm not you guys know I'm never connected into the Ballard orbit. I'm not even a Ballard fan. You know, I was very critical of a lot of Ballard's time as mayor. He did some things certainly infinitely better than what we have now. I take it in a heartbeat compared to what we have now. But I was by no means a Ballard homer. And I told everyone, I was like, he's totally going to get those signatures. There's no way Ballard and the orbit around him, the people who are still with us, who support him, endorse him, were a part of his team, who I assume it's many of the same people now, would ever let him get into this endeavor, nor would he get into this endeavor without getting the signatures. If I saw it, how could anybody else not see it? It's the same thing with Jamey Noel. I was around the guy for 30 minutes. I was like, this guy is brazenly corrupt. Like, it's awful. It's obvious. It's obvious how the shadiness of this guy. Like, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I know enough to know when you need to turn and run. I know enough to know when potential coordination could end up putting you in orange. And with Jamey Noel, how is it obvious that I could see that in 30 minutes knowing nothing about the guy and all these people around him for years? Well, we had no idea. And so really, I've been thinking about how right now what you should take away is how just not only hilariously wrong, but how arrogantly wrong these lawmakers were about something that was obvious in Greg Ballard. And if they're that wrong about something so obvious like Ballard getting the signatures, why would you trust them on anything that actually matters? You think their judgment is any better on property taxes or utility bills or IED or the IEDC corruption or any of this stuff? Diego, right? And some of these same people are the ones who did absolutely nothing about Diego. I want to read you. I'm going to give you an example of this. Here's a tweet from State Representative Kyle Pierce on March the 4th. This was right after Ballard announced that he was running for Secretary of State. Kyle Pierce is a state rep from the Muncie area. These are the people that are making decisions for you. This is the complete lack of judgment that they show and how arrogant they are about it. Again, this is March the 4th. This is right after Greg Ballard announced he was going to run for Secretary of State. Dude, this is Twitter. Dude, you aren't hitting 37,000 signatures in the next 118 days. I bet your consultants will appreciate the paychecks for the next few months, but you know you aren't making the ballot. Well, Kyle, you were right. Greg Ballard didn't hit 37,000 signatures. He blew past 37,000 signatures. And you know why Greg Ballard blew past 37,000 signatures, Kyle? Because people are sick of the crap legislation and crap results from people like you. Now, look, what we do here, because we have the freedom to do it, is tell you what's going on. And a vote for Greg Ballard, and I'm not telling you to vote for Greg Ballard. I'm not committed to voting for Greg Ballard. Somebody on Twitter yesterday was like, when you get done campaigning for Greg Ballard, you let me know. I'll listen to your program again. I said, well, I don't think you listen very closely because never have I ever campaigned for Greg Ballard. I do support, I know, and this is a very radical position, people being able to run for the office they're forced to fund as taxpayers. I know, kind of goofy, kind of silly that I think people should be able to run for offices they're forced to publicly fund. But I'm not committed to voting for Greg Ballard. I'm not endorsing Greg Ballard. I'm not campaigning for Greg Ballard. I will tell you right now, there is just as much a chance I will vote for Bai as there is Ballard. And look, if they both stinks, Schillings is in the mix too. By the way, here's what I thought we should do. Jason, I haven't even discussed this with you. You tell me what you think about this. Give me your gut instinct. I'm thinking we should host a forum for the candidates for Secretary of State. And we could do it in like a theater. We would get a ton of people to go. I will moderate it because I'm very fair and I'm not committed to voting for anyone. But here's what we do. Here's got to be the kicker. Because the Republicans have spent decades keeping regular people from being involved, I think we exclude the Republican. I think we give them a piece of their own medicine. I think that's the memo of the forum. Maybe we do it. Maybe we should do it at Russ' place on October 3rd. You're right. That'd be perfect. What do you think about that? We give the Republicans a little, not that England would show up to any forum I'm in charge of anyway, but I think we send a message because that's what they've done. The Republicans have taken great pride through various means of power from keeping people from participating. Just ask our friend John Rust. Look what they did to him. There's so many stories out there about this, about Republicans changing the law, rigging the system, all of this stuff to keep people, undesirables, from being able to participate. That's what they're mad about with Ballard. They're mad that even though they rigged the system, they couldn't rig it enough to keep Greg Ballard off the ballot because so many people believed enough in Greg Ballard to sign that petition. No, it doesn't mean every person who signed is going to vote for him. Of course not. I'm a person who signed. I'm uncommitted. But people believed enough in wrecking this system, which is what the Ballard that's how you have to think of voting for Ballard if you're going to be a Ballard voter. You have to think of empowering yourself. Now, look, I've told you ultimately what has to happen is the Republicans have to lose that office so that the corruption of Diego Morales and the people who emboldened him, who covered it up for him, who did business with him, can get exposed. And until Greg Ballard can put out a poll showing that he's in the ball game on that, your best chance to do that's going to be by. But the Ballard campaign is about something else. It's actually about emboldening yourself. I mean, if Ballard's not framing that as his messaging, he's going to really miss the boat. The Ballard campaign has to be about, I'm doing this for you. The Republicans have excluded you from the process for generations. They have taken pride in making sure that 80% of the people are ineligible to run under Republican or Democrat banner in the state of Indiana. I'm doing this for you. Don't get caught up in the minutia of the Secretary of State's office. Nobody knows what that is or cares about it anyway. Certainly not your average voter. Like I saw Max England come out with something about the truck drivers. He did some interview about the truck drivers. And I just said, your party has been in power in this state for 20 years. They have held this office for decades that you want to own. And yet there's no acknowledgement that whatever's wrong with the truck drivers, the Republicans have allowed it to happen. We're always told red is the only way, and yet all of these problems exist under red. If I'm Greg Ballard, the message has to be, this is about you, about smashing this system that has forbid you from participating, and these people like Kyle Pierce have taken great joy in doing it. Think about how disgusting it is. Let's say Ballard hadn't got the signatures, which obviously did. Kyle, he blew past the 37,000. And look, we're picking on Kyle Pierce because he's a zero who should know better. And Kyle, I've known Kyle for years. I'm thoroughly disappointed in his behavior as an elected official. But there's tons of guys out there like Kyle who have said these Republican, some not even elected officials in some cases, appointed people, clingers on, stooges, minions, all of this stuff about Ballard. Let's just say he hadn't got the signatures. Why would you be proud that it's so hard for regular people to run for an office they're forced to pay for? Why would you be brazen about that? Shouldn't the response have been, hey, that's awesome, you got those signatures. We really got to fight to make this easier so regular people can participate. How is that not the response? Man, this system is pretty screwed up. Because the other thing now is, and we talked about this with Jacob Stewart over the weekend, or on Friday, columnist from the Indy Star, where he says, well, Ballard's proving it's too easy to form a political party. No, it's not. I mean, I don't know what the final number is going to end up being. He probably spent $250,000 to $300,000, maybe more. I don't know. We'll see when the campaign finance report comes out to get these signatures. And yet that is the knock on him. Well, he had to pay for signatures. So do all the Republicans. All these people that run for Senate or governor have employees or firms that go out and get signatures. I mean, there are some very rare exceptions like Jamie Rittenauer who figures out how to do it. But, I mean, for the most part, all these main people, they pay people to go get signatures. It's fine when they do it. It's not with Ballard. Why are we paying anyone? The barrier to access in this state is done by design because the Republicans don't want undesirables, people that they cannot control, being a part of the system. The whole system is built on control. People always say, like, well, Ballard this is mayor and Ballard that is mayor. How could you? I don't care. I don't care who it is that accomplished what Ballard accomplished. I'd be for it. This system is corrupt. It's rigged. It is designed to keep people from participation. And I would support anyone, regardless of their political leanings or their legislative record, who says, I'll crack this code and open the doors up to millions of people being able to participate in the political process that are otherwise excluded. That's what it's about for me with Ballard. Not about his record or even how he do as Secretary of State. I support people being able to run for public office, to be able to participate in the government, to be a voice, to be part of the equation. Here's the other thing that's fascinating to me, and then we're going to get to the Shawn Bostock interview because it's great. I mean, he was phenomenal about Jamey Noel. Greg Ballard announced that he was going to go on a podcast called, what's the name of this? Who's Left, I think is the name of the podcast. It's a play on Hoosiers and left. It's a podcast of progressives or liberals or whatever, right? Who's Left? HOOSLEFT. And now the same people, many of the same people, who were mocking his run, who were mocking the signatures, now a lot of these people have morphed into, well, he's cozying up to the left. I saw one person, something like, I can't remember exactly like this, but he's doing the bidding of the communists. And I said, wait. I heard for years how conservatives like me needed to sit down and shut up because the Republicans were the big tent. We need to get more liberal people to come over to the Republican side. I thought that was the whole premise of Greg Ballard. I was told for years, Rob, you cannot be critical of Greg Ballard. He's the gold standard. Red mayor, blue city. Shut up, Rob. But what about, no. But what about, no. But what about, no. Gold standard. Red mayor, blue city. Shut up. And now the idea of as an independent candidate, he is an independent candidate, but any candidate saying, I so believe in my vision for whatever the office is that I'll meet anyone, anywhere, anytime and have a conversation with them about what I want to do and how that'll be better for them. Now we're going to hold that against them as well. So what the Republicans are basically saying is, well, we don't like Greg Ballard because he's stealing Republican votes, that's why they're pissed. They know Ballard's going to take votes from them. But we only want him to talk to groups that we approve of. Because, as an actual independent candidate, what would you do? You'd talk to a whole bunch of people, right? Independent. I'm not bound to one side or the other. Why the hell would you not? On any podcast that wants to have you on, unless the people have a wanted photo up in a post office, how could you not say, yeah, sign me up. I'm happy to talk to anybody, anywhere, anytime. Have a battle of ideas. Share my ideas about this office. But now that's the new talking point. He's cozying up to the left. because he went on a left podcast. Well, Greg Ballard also went on this podcast. Don't get more conservative than me. Sounds like he's actually doing the work of an independent. Now, and we probably won't have time to get into it today. I'm going to get into it tomorrow. There was a big article about Bai in the Indy Star saying he's cutting off any person who gives to his campaign getting state contracts, which is very interesting. And that article came out this morning. I'm not sure we're going to have time to get into it today because we got the Bostock interview, which is phenomenal. I want to have all the time we need to get into that and talk about it afterwards. But look, you have to understand this. If you are fed up with the Republicans, if you've fed up with all the stuff over all the years, you have every opportunity to do something about it. No candidate's ever going to be perfect. No candidate's going to give you everything you want unless you run. But if you vote for the Republican this year, you are saying, I'm fine with the last 20 years of governance. I'm fine with the tax increases. I'm fine with the corruption. I'm fine with all the Diego stuff. You're giving your consent to that. And many of you hearing my voice right now probably will do that. And that's on you. Voting, you have to come to your own conclusions. You have to look yourself in the mirror when you vote. But you have every opportunity this year to protest that, to break away from that, with people who are actually viable candidates who have the ability to make a difference. I hope you guys use the opportunity wisely. Hey, you got a leaky chimney? Water in the basement? Cracks around the exterior of your home? Bramwell Mackay Property Services and Consultants is your authority for chimney repair, tuck pointing, foundation repair, crawl space to basement conversions, basement waterproofing, and more. Bramwell Mackay doesn't offer quick patches. Their team of 40-year master masons and industry experts address the root cause and provide solutions that last lifetimes. Your home is one of your biggest investments. Treat it that way. Bramwell Mackay, BramwellMCKAY.com, BramwellMackay.com, your masonry, foundation, and chimney specialist. They've been with us from the beginning. We wouldn't be here right now without our fabulous, fabulous friends from Bramwell Mackay. And they love you guys. They love our show. They love you guys. They love hearing from you guys. And so thanks to Bramwell Mackay. All right, a couple of housekeeping notes, and then we'll get to the Bostock interview. Number one, help us grow this program. Nobody does local like us. Nobody covers the things we do in the way we do. We need you to help us do that. Like, share, and subscribe. That's how we grow the program. Number one, if you haven't done so yet, hit that little thumbs up button. Really helps us grow the program. Hit that thumbs up button. Number two, and by the way, it's whether you're watching live or on demand. You can hit the thumbs up button. If you're watching us afterwards, helps all the same. Number two, share the feed out. Facebook, Twitter, whatever you've got, whether you're watching us live on YouTube, on demand on YouTube, or you're getting us on the podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, iHeart. Man, those numbers, amazing. Thanks to all of you who join us there each day. Share that feed out. And last but certainly not least, subscribe to the channel. Like, share, subscribe. That's how you help us grow the Rob Kendall Show. All right, one other thing, and then we'll get to the Bostock interview. Don't forget, October 3rd, Saturday, John Rust having a huge event for the people of the Rob Kendall Show. John Rust is having a party at his house in Seymour, his palatial estate in Seymour, and he would love for you to attend. There's no cost. It's going to be a great time celebrating America's 250th birthday, celebrating Jason's birthday, October the 3rd. Listen to this lineup of what you get. All you got to do is show up. No cost, no nothing. Patriotic music, antique car show, catered lunch by Double D's, fabulous sponsor of the Rob Kendall Show. I'm going to give a speech about how great the country is and a whole lot more. Here's all you got to do. By the way, the event starts at noon. All you got to do is email rustforamerica@gmail.com. rustforamerica@gmail.com. You can see the full details at johnrust.com, rustforamerica@gmail.com. Come hang out with us. It'll be fun. John's opening his house up. It's going to be a blast. We're going to have so much fun. We'll see you then. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, Shawn Bostock of Integrity and Accountability Facebook page, the whistleblower on Jamey Noel, is going to be with us talking about this documentary that's come out, his time around Noel, what the documentary got right, what still needs to happen. Jamey Noel, arguably the most corrupt politician in the history of the state of Indiana. It's a fascinating story. It's a terrible story. We'll give you all the details when we come back. You're watching Rob Kendall Show. Do you have a dog but don't have a fenced-in yard? Your HOA won't allow a fence? Worried about having to watch your furry friend anytime you go outside? Avoid the blazing hot summers and freezing cold winters with All-American Dog Fence. All-American Dog Fence is the cost-effective, easy-to-use in-ground fence system to keep your dog secure and give you peace of mind anytime they're outside. All-American Dog Fence backs their Pet Stop products with a lifetime warranty. Call or text All-American Dog Fence at 317-862-6606 or visit their website at allamericandogfence.com. Mention the Rob Kendall Show and get $200 off a new installation.
Buying a home or thinking about refinancing? Work with someone local who understands the central Indiana market. Gary Tedrow with Verity Mortgage helps homebuyers and homeowners explore options for purchasing, refinancing, or even consolidating higher interest debt through their mortgage. Gary's approach is simple, clear advice, and personalized guidance so you can make confident decisions. Visit loansbygary.homes to learn more or get started today. You've got nothing to lose but dollars on your mortgage payment. So call for a free, no-obligation quote, 317-695-5179. Gary Tedrow, NMLS number 179207 with Verity Mortgage, NMLS number 70345, an equal housing opportunity lender.
There is a new documentary out about maybe the most corrupt politician in the history of the state of Indiana. You longtime viewers and listeners know we've covered this guy for years. It's Jamey Noel, the now disgraced former sheriff of Clark County, one of the most powerful Republicans in the state, a very close confidant, political ally of former Governor Eric Holcomb. The new documentary, Tarnished the Badge, the Jamey Noel Story, put out by WHAS 11, and it is on YouTube. It is fabulous. One of the stars of the documentary, one of the guys who was a real whistleblower on Noel, covered the case unlike anybody else. You longtime WIBC fans will remember. Shawn Bostock joins us now. Shawn, hello.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Okay, so a little background on you, because you run the Integrity and Accountability Facebook page. You
Yes.
cover local government, primarily down in Southeast Indiana, but you'll cover stuff across the state. And you also worked with Noel for years. Give us a little bit of your background and how you came into contact with Jamey Noel.
I got into the fire service in the 90s, late 90s, and Jamey was up and coming at that time, and everybody kind of knew of him because he was a state trooper at the time. We had several police officers pulling different duties across the state. And I ended up becoming employed by Jamey Noel when they were starting Utica Fire and EMS initially, before it even became New Chapel. And we started seeing some of the oddities then that ultimately led to my federal lawsuit against him, I believe in 2004, that I won. And ever since then, I've been trying to explain to anybody that would listen who this guy is and what he's really about. It's about the money and,
You were a real citizen journalist. You blew the whistle
Yes.
on this guy years ahead of time. And we'll get into some of the stuff here in a moment, because a lot of this I don't think would have happened if it weren't for you. Why did it take so long? Like, I met Noel one time when I was working in the state auditor's office. I spent about 30 minutes around the guy, and I said, there's something very, very off about this guy. This would have been like 2013. All of these people were around him for all these years, and other than a handful of guys like you, everybody was like, we knew nothing. What did you see that other people didn't?
They conveniently see nothing, because if they would have seen it, they would have had to say something. And that seems to be, even in the documentary, it's pointed out that, it was wiggling on everybody's faces. And then it took until November of, what was it, 2024, before they even really took accountability for their involvements in it. This could not have happened without other people helping. I mean, there was just too many hands.
Shawn Bostock is our guest. He runs the Integrity and Accountability Facebook page. He's a citizen journalist. He's a big part of the new documentary that's out, Tarnished the Badge, the Jamey Noel Story. Okay, so explain to people at very high level, right? Because it's very complicated. I was watching the documentary. It's like, man, this is pretty complex, the way the guy pulled this off. But he basically started his own sort of nonprofit fire department and then somehow turned it into making a fortune himself. Explain how he did it.
So most volunteer fire departments are not owned by the government. They are contracted by the government. Usually there is a membership association that makes up the department. And then the leadership and the financial body of that department contract services to the government, such as a fire protection district. So that's how he started doing it. Is in the early 2000s, they went from having fish fries to pay the light bill to going fire district, which is a government taxing body. It's a separate standing body to provide a tax base for the fire department. And it didn't take long for him to get his hands around that entirety and make them think that they worked for him versus he worked for them contractually. And ultimately, when things blew up like they did, the first words to the state police by these individuals were, "We thought we worked for it. We thought we were supposed to do what he said."
Okay, so because you watch this video, and I got this perception, whatever it was, 13, 14 years ago, when I was down in Clark County, you'd see these people interact with him, that he was almost like a mafia figure. Like people were petrified to cross the guy. You were around him for years. What was your perception on the ground?
Jamey never talked a whole lot. He was an observer, and then he would go to his cabal and say, "Handle that for me. I don't need my hands near." We called him, literally, Rob, we called him the Onion. We have several people that have now ran for office, and we would have meetings at local establishments, kind of circa 1774, local beer establishments. And it got to the point that we couldn't place all of his captains within view. So we moved to a garage. And we were able to basically link this guy to every precinct committeeman, whether it's the precinct committeeman works for Jamey or the family member of the precinct committeeman works for Jamey. So he had the marionette tied across the board. So if you tried to move here, he just moved you back, and he controlled your pay. Even with the fire district board, the president of the fire district board worked for Jamey at the sheriff's office with no conflict of interest. That is the big thing, the conflicts of interest. John Miller, he's facing trial right now because of conflict of interest. Brittany Faree, the mistress, baby mama, she faced the conflict of interest and ultimately took a plea deal on it.
Hey, real quick, I want to explain what you just mentioned there, because I think the Brittany Faree stuff is sort of like the microcosm of everything. So Faree is on the county council,
yes,
which the county councils are in charge of the money. Yep. She gets in a relationship with Noel. He gets her pregnant, and then he's paying child support for this kid out of fire department funds. Did I capsize that properly?
Yes, it's a little bit better than that. So Brittany and I graduated from high school together. They did have the relationship. We tried to call that out during the relationship, and we were attacked. My employer was contacted by council and said, "Hey, if y'all want to do any work for Clark County again, you might want to, tell Bostock to chill out." Another individual wasn't so lucky to have a boss that was like, "Go kick mud." The other individual's employer had several thousands of dollars worth of contracts, and he was forced to publicly apologize. And then after it came out that everything was true, nothing ever happened. JH, as I'll call him, never got an apology from his boss or Brittany. So yeah, originally when the investigation was going on, they were looking solely at the sheriff's office. It wasn't until the paternity case was unsealed. It should have never been sealed in the first place. Had to take it to the Indiana Supreme Court. We got it unsealed, and that's where we were finding the child support paid via check from New Chapel. It wasn't payroll going to Jamey and then going back. He was straight from the register paying his child support to Brittany, and then that's when the investigation blew up to New Chapel and surrounding counties.
Shawn Bostock is our guest. He's a citizen journalist. Integrity and accountability is his Facebook page. We've had Shawn on our program for years. He really was sort of the original whistleblower, one of them on the Jamey Noel case. There's a new documentary. Shawn's a big part of it. You can find it now on YouTube. Tarnished the Badge, the Jamey Noel Story, WHAS 11 television put it together. It's great. I watched it over the weekend. It's fabulous. Shawn, when I say this and I introduce this, and I think Jamey Noel may be the most corrupt politician in the history of our state. Can you back me up with this? That's not an exaggeration. I mean, how rotten this guy was.
So when the investigation was first starting and it was starting to leak to the press, everybody was like, "Oh my God, it's not going anywhere. They're trying to ruin a good man." And I was telling people this is going to be the largest political scandal in U.S. or Indiana history. And keep in mind, we had a governor that was in bed with the KKK. I've said this on your previous show. And ultimately, the day of that he made his plea deal, a lot of people changed their minds, but I still do not think he was the ringleader. I think he was a mid-level, maybe a major or a colonel. If you're looking at a ranking structure, there were people that let him do what he was doing as long as they got their piece from him politically. And I firmly believe that it ended up going to the White House as vice president.
You believe this extends all the way to Mike Pence?
I do. They were too close.
What do you base that on?
Well, Pence was known to come to dinner while at the White House, that they'd shut the town of Utica down and sneak Pence in. And, John Miller and several others, some other of the cabal would come out bragging, "Yeah, we just hung out with the vice president, Scotty Maples, Kenny Eubanks, and all of them." Even Matt Owen on the documentary said that, hey, they were being taken to Washington, D.C. and palled around. And, Pence was our governor. And during COVID, he took the spot at the White House. Jamey Noel talked to him on a daily basis about COVID. He was in Holcomb's ear at all times. If there was a politician from Indiana, he had access to him via District 9 chairman, Rules Committee. And so this is it's a big umbrella that this is. And I know people hear that, they don't want to believe it, but same thing happened when I was telling them about Noel.
Okay, let's talk about the now former governor, Holcomb. There's irrefutable evidence those guys were super close. Noel was one of the leaders on Holcomb's campaign. There's photos, I think they've since disappeared, but the internet's forever, right, of Holcomb checking on Noel's, I think it's his daughter at college.
Oh, no. Hey, Rob, he was babysitting Noel's daughter, and I've got the videos, the photos, and the text messages.
And this is what I kept saying on the old radio show. I said, the story isn't whether this guy was corrupt or not. He clearly was. It's how is the governor getting a free pass on this for not knowing arguably his closest political ally was running essentially this criminal ring here, and nobody ever held Holcomb to any account on this. Like, if your best friend was living millions of dollars above his means, wouldn't you be like, hey, how are you doing? And that never happened. Why did Holcomb get a free pass on all of this?
Because he's upper level. We have to talk about the political elites of Indiana. They get a free pass. We've seen that just here in Du Bois County, not through the sheriff. That is another side story. But a cold case murder from 1987, a very affluent woman killed her baby and hid it and was given a pass. I mean, it was written black and white who did it. They just brought her back in, and she's serving 6 years of probation in her Brentwood estate in Tennessee. She was snuck into the courtroom, and this all goes up to Indianapolis. There is linkages to Braun on this, not only on Kleinhelter, but the cold case baby murder from 1987. Political interference. I'm not saying he was involved in the murder, but some political interference may have been ran.
Okay, so now we fast forward to, and I thought it was fascinating. I'd never seen the video of the search of his house. So to describe this to people, he has this pole barn, and let's real quick. One thing that was interesting. Jeff Heron is in the documentary. He's of course yes. the state police officer, decorated state police officer who put together the case on Kleinhelter, Braun's buddy, who's the sheriff down in Du Bois County, the 80-page probable cause affidavit. He was involved in this one too. One of the things that I think kind of went under the radar is he basically said, we had to move quick on this Jamey Noel case because it had been going on for so long. We were worried the statute of limitations was going to expire, which shows how long this guy was getting away with it.
Yes, 100%. So he was only they could only look back 5 years. This was going on for 20 plus years. I sued him in 2004 for not paying proper wages in federal court and won. His manipulations had started back then when he became the county chair. Once he became the county chair, that's who he put in. He now controlled who was on the ballots. He controlled who ran for prosecutor, who prosecutes. He controlled who ran for coroner, who can arrest on state sheriff on state charges. The coroner, well, was his best friend that he had just paid for paramedic schooling and everything else.
You just touched on something, because I've said this for years at our show, and people are like, really? The only person who can arrest the sheriff is the coroner, correct?
On state charges. Unfortunately, here in Clark County, we know that federal agents can come in. We witnessed it with Sheriff Danny Rodden, that just was the predecessor to Jamey Noel. They came in, got him for giving prostitutes badges and passes and helping basically move dope. And then an interim sheriff came in, and then Jamey was elected. Once he became elected, he was truly untouchable. You couldn't, there was no one that would listen.
Again, when you get done with our show today, Tarnish the Badge, the Jamey Noel Story, it's on YouTube. It's free to watch. It's awesome. It's an hour and a half. It'll fly by. And the interesting thing to me is I knew so many people in the documentary, which makes it even more, I don't know, fun's the right word, because it's a horrible story. But when you know enough about things, you've watched it now. Obviously, you were part of it. I thought when they got done, I said they did a really good job. Now, they could have gone for 5 hours and not touched on all the stuff with Noel. But I thought for an hour and 30 minutes, they did a pretty good job of summing up who this guy was. What say you?
Oh, 100%. Travis Breeze did a fantastic job from the editing to the setup. My interview was, I think it was at like 6 o'clock at night at a pizza joint in Sellersburg. You can't tell I'm at a pizza joint in there. The lighting and the videography was great. The story was great. But like you said, there's enough material. We didn't even broach the Indiana Sheriff's Youth Ranch Alliance. And that's what that ties a lot of Holcomb into a lot of the stuff going on down here. There was an individual brought on to the Sheriff's Youth Ranch as a treasurer that ended up losing their tax exempt status. And then that same individual ends up being a distributor for police and fire and EMS vehicles across the state. Many of them have been under recall lately. The Durango problem that happened, that all came from southern Indiana here. But it was a big meet and greet opportunity up there at Sheriff's Ranch that has now ultimately ceased to exist. They've auctioned off all their stuff.
Okay, a couple other things I want to get into, because we go for 2 hours, but I want to keep you, 30 minutes if I can. The ex sister-in-law. So Noel, she was married to Noel's brother, which that ended up being a whole. I mean, that's what I'm saying. We can't even scratch the surface on all the crap this guy pulled. But she said something in the documentary. I think she was the one who said it, where she said and I'm not using her exact words here, but she basically said, this guy's pulling all this crap, and then he's being so brazen about wanting attention. I think it was related to the TV show, the 60 Days in the A&E documentary. And she said it really told you about this guy, about sort of how untouchable he kind of thought he was, where he's clearly doing all of this stuff, and yet he's like to A&E, please come film me and make me a national TV star.
Yeah. Well, piggybacking on that, that's when Holcomb was babysitting, was during the shooting of this show. He had to go to, I believe it was Connecticut. And here's his daughter staying at the governor's mansion with the governor and his wife, taking a selfie and posting it. Hey, Jamey, she's in good hands. But yeah, he was extremely brazen. He did not give a crap about drawing attention. And ultimately, that was his come down.
The 60 Days In. Okay, so for people who don't know, there was a TV show on A&E. It's called 60 Days In. They did several, I believe, sheriff's departments where they basically put hidden cameras inside the jail. They had like actors, for lack of a better term, or non-inmates go in and get information on the jail and then give it to the guards, and they film the whole thing. I thought it was kind of skeezy. I mean, what did the people of Clark County think at the time? Because at the time it came off as, hey, this is about Noel, rather than making, incarceration better in Clark County.
Right. It was a mixed bag down here. You had people similar to me that was like, "Oh, get a load of this," you know. And then there was a lot. Oh, he's trying to affect change. He's trying to affect change. But one thing that happened is some of those people that were used for 60 days in as the plants have had a lot of problems since then, and really have been grazed over. Sherry's a friend of mine. I think her story needs to be told a little bit more. Um, but there's been problems because of that. Yeah, it really showed the citizens of Clark County kind of how disastrous it was being run, and it ultimately backfired on them. And then, of course, the caveat to that is the males getting in the female wing, that led to a big downfall for Jamey as well.
Hey, let's talk about another thing that's in this documentary that tells you who Noel is. So the wife is involved with it, right? And the
Yes.
daughter's involved with this. And the prosecutors in the documentary. Again, the documentary is great. I think it has most of the key people in there, at least who they could probably get. And he basically said, we go to Noel and go, hey, your wife's going down. If you want to fess up to something, maybe we let her go. And Noel's just like, nope, don't have anything else to add. I mean, he let his
Yep.
wife go down.
Yep. Yeah, that's who he is. Going back to how you talk about mob and Hope referring to him as the Noel Mafia, he based everything off of La Cosa Nostra, even including keeping your mouth shut. And yeah, he had an opportunity to take the rap for his wife, and he didn't say nothing.
Couple minutes left with Shawn Bostock. He runs the Integrity and Accountability Facebook page, which, by the way, real quick, tell us, just take a moment, tell us about your Facebook page, because this is what you do. You're you've worked for government entities, agencies, you've been a public servant, but you've committed much of your life to exposing government doings, corruption, whatever you want to call it. Tell us about your Facebook page.
So prior to Noel being at the forefront of the media, most of it was handled on my personal Facebook page. And then when Noel started getting hot and heavy, I created Integrity and Accountability with Shawn Bostock. And I have covered everything from Jamey Noel to cold case murders to other political corruption cases. Currently, I'm being sued for defamation over one of them, but we expect to be victorious come October 6th on that. But yeah, two cold case murders solved. I go on Monday to sit with the family during the sentencing on one of them. So I've done a lot of good with the page. That is my goal moving forward, to continue doing good with the page. It has slowed down with the lawsuit pending because I am an owner operator and I work a full-time job on top of it, have a family life. So I'm still doing my research. The articles aren't as forthcoming as they used to be, but once this lawsuit is over and done with, we're going to expose some more.
I mean, I've read that page for years. You were on our WIBC show. Do you feel like you are the reason Noel went down? I was telling somebody this yesterday after I saw the documentary. I said, Bostock, they could have done him for the whole documentary, because I feel like if you hadn't existed, Noel would have never got taken down. How much of a role do you think you played in this?
So last Monday night, I watched the documentary afternoon. We had those of us that participated, we had early access. Pardon me, early access. And I called Jeff Herring. I said, "Did you watch it yet?" He goes, "Young man, take your bow." I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "If it wasn't for that check, we would have been done. He would have been out with 3 months probation. They would have been done in 3 months with probation." Um, One thing that's always bothered me here, Doug Carter stood there on the courthouse steps and said, "We're going to stay down here until it's over with." And then we got a new governor, and Doug Carter is no longer with the department, and we don't have any state troopers down here furthering the investigation of corruption that is still here.
Well, so let's hit on that for a second, because obviously we've had Carter on a whole bunch about the Kleinhelter
Yep.
stuff, and I think all of us believe there was a total miscarriage of justice with that. You feel like the state police should still be down there because you think there are other people that need held to account for the Knoll stuff.
Everybody has someone to answer to, including the superintendent of the state police. I'm not saying he's made his decision on his own accord, but for some reason, the investigating group was disbanded, moved, and has been penalized ever since, including Doug Carter being removed as superintendent, which happens under a new administration. We can't say that that's solely what it is, but there's a lot of writing on the wall that those of us that have been part of this for so long, we're like, man, we're seeing it already again. They're, the intervention in the Kleinhelter and everything else. But yeah, we'd love to see, Jeff Herring down here a lot more because, in my opinion, he is an investigator that has some scruples and can't be intimidated either one way. And we need a guy like him down here because it's still going on.
There's some doubt about Maples, the sheriff, who turned Noel in because he claims he found this basically wiretap, right? Like he found an electronic monitoring in the jail, and that's what started this whole thing. There's a lot of people who believe, hey, Maples was his right-hand guy. Like, how could he not know? Do you believe Maples when he says, "Hey, I didn't know any of this stuff. As soon as I found it, we turned it in." Is he a hero in this thing, or is he just a guy who got the spotlight off of him?
Both. He was with Noel every step of the way. I've got an audio recording. It's about an hour and a half with Scotty, and he explained to me, and I do believe 100% that Jamey never let him see the books of the sheriff's office in advance of becoming sheriff. That was Jamey. You're not going to see it. So I believe him when he says that. But as the second in charge of a law enforcement entity, all these schoolings, all these classes, you don't know when somebody's living outside their means. And, they thought he owned the fire department and the EMS, but it's operated out of a government building. There's just too many things that leave holes for all of us. I do believe that Scotty didn't have any financial crimes involved, but I also believe Scotty, out of convenience, never asked the questions. Man, is he living outside of his means? Where's this guy coming up with this money?
Okay, so a couple things before we wrap up here. I see a lot of similarities between Diego Morales and Jamey Noel in the sense of everybody should have known what was going on. Nobody in a power structure from the Republican side did anything. Then all of a sudden, once it becomes irrefutable what the guy did, now Morales has not been charged with anything criminal, of course.
Correct.
But look at you've got the attorney general using the word scandals plural when talking about his reasons for dropping the endorsement. It seems like there's a lot of parallels from the standpoint of everybody should have known. I think a lot of people did, and nobody did anything. Am I off on that?
No, you're not. Here's another thing to look at. Where's Diego from?
Would you want to tell everybody?
Clark County, Indiana. We Hope Noel coined the phrase. Yet we're going to give Hope all the credit on that. We've been calling it the Noel Mafia for years. Jamey lets people on the ballot that he knows he can have control of. Well, as Secretary of State gets a little more complicated, except when you're the District 9 guy. So once again, here we see this political favoritism, gatekeeping, as you call it. But when you go into to elect these people to get them on the ballot, Jamey Noel controls all of District 9 and the delegates and saying, hey, I want this guy as my delegate. Who's going to go against it? Because if you go against it, now you're getting primaried, you're losing your spot, you're being retaliated against, and he's a cop, so you got to worry if you're going to get stuff planted on you, if you're going to get shot on a traffic stop. Throughout the investigation, there were some safety concerns. We thought that.
Were you concerned for your safety? Were you worried?
Oh, 100%. It went from carrying a gun everywhere to not carrying a gun anywhere and letting everybody know it, because we really thought that one of his henchmen were going to affect a traffic stop on me. Oh my God, he's got a gun. And, ultimately it didn't come to that, but we did have here about 50 yards behind where I'm sitting. We did have an individual show up at my house and guns came out. He lost, no shots were fired. And we haven't seen him ever again. He's now lives in a different state, but he showed up at my house because he was madly in love with certain people in the investigation, and we were exposing them.
All right, before we let you go, do you believe when Jamey Noel gets out, he will try to get back into politics, and do you believe he will reoffend?
He'll reoffend 100%. I don't know. I believe that he will probably have a six-figure job waiting for him when he gets out because he's been a good boy and he's kept his mouth shut. So when he gets out, these people that he's done these favors for still owe him their favors. So I can see him working as a car salesman in southern Indiana, selling fleet vehicles to emergency responders. I could see him being some sort of political advisor in Indianapolis.
The documentary is fabulous. Tarnished the Badge, the Jamey Noel Story. WHAS 11 is who did it. It's free. It's on YouTube. You can watch it for yourself. Shawn Bostock, one of the stars of the documentary, and really one of the reasons some level of justice was served. Shawn, thank you for being with us. Thanks for keeping us informed all those years on the old radio show. Thanks for being brave, man. There's not enough brave people out there. You are a brave son of a gun, and you inspire people like me because, man, you are fearless. And so thank you for being with us and telling us a little bit more about what went down.
I'm just not as eloquent as you.
Shawn, we love you, man. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks, Rob.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll be back. You're watching Rob Kendall Show. Is the inside of your house a total mess, like a complete dumpster fire? Call AJ's Picture Perfect Cleaning. When you walk into your house after using AJ's Picture Perfect Cleaning, you will see and smell the difference. They take great pride in their workers and treat your home like their own. All cleaners pass through a background check and drug screening. Call today and mention you heard about AJ's Picture Perfect Cleaning on the Rob Kendall Show, and you will get an incredible $50 off your first clean. AJ's Picture Perfect Cleaning serves all of Central Indiana. Book your appointment today by calling 317-530-8148. 317-530-8148.
If authentic wood-smoked barbecue is your thing, Double D's Barbecue in Clayton is the place for you. Owners Dennis and Tina Duncan, along with their son Garrett, are from Memphis. So when it comes to barbecue, they're not screwing around. No pellet smokers, no roasters, just authentic wood-smoked Memphis-style barbecue. All of Double D's food is cooked fresh daily, and it's all made from scratch. Double D's Barbecue, located at 40 and 39 in Clayton, is open all day Wednesday through Saturday, but get there early because once they're sold out, they're done. Check out the full menu, ribs, brisket, and more at ddbbq317.com.
Hey guys, welcome back. It is the Rob Kendall Show. Thanks for joining us. Hope you're having a great Monday. Look, that interview with Shawn Bostock was phenomenal, and we will post it up after the show is over today, so you go back and watch it anytime you want. Share that out. Let people know, because that is the Jamey Noel Story is a fascinating one, and one that needs to be told. All right, we got some great audio to get to. Well, interesting audio, I guess I should say, to get to. Before we do that, though, a couple of reminders. If you haven't done so yet, give us that little thumbs up. Like the show, whether you're watching us live or on demand on YouTube, give us that little thumbs up. Really helps us grow the program. If you're listening to us on Apple, Spotify, give us that 5-star review. Really helps us out as well. Don't wait. Don't wait. You can do it now. It takes like 2 seconds. Really helps us out. Thanks to all of you who help us grow the program. If you like what we do, we have a website, robkendallshow.com. robkendallshow.com. Over there, you've got the live link. You've got all of our on-demand platforms. If you've ever wondered where we're at or what the link is to get us on whatever your favorite on-demand platform is, we've also got articles each day from some of our favorite segments that we do on the show. We turn them into articles. You can read those. And last but certainly not least, we have a support button. If you like this program, if you're like, I feel like a total freeloader watching these guys for free every day, throw us a few bucks if you want to. You don't have to. We're happy to let you freeload all you want. That's where the sponsors come in. But if you want to be a part of the show with us, support button, robkendallshow.com. We appreciate each and every one of you who have supported the show. Hey, do you guys have a dog? We don't have a fenced-in yard. Your HOA won't allow a fence. Worried about having to watch your furry friend anytime you go outside? Avoid the blazing hot summers and freezing cold winters with All American Dog Fence. All American Dog Fence. Cost-effective. Easy to use. In-ground fence system to keep your dog secure and give you peace of mind anytime they're outside. You know, these big guys, they're all over the place, right? All American Dog Fence, they beat the price and their customer service is outstanding. The All-American Dog Fence is owned by Kelly and Jeff. They have 3 dogs themselves. Used to be Indiana Dog Fence, and they believed in Indiana Dog Fence so much they bought the company. Of course, Bob Swarm is a big fan of our show. He was the original owner of Indiana Dog Fence. Now All-American Dog Fence, and all their products are backed they're designed right here in the United States, and they're backed with a lifetime warranty. Pet Stop products. Call All-American Dog Fence, or you can text them. Whatever your favorite preferred method of communication is, 317-862-6606, 317-862-6606. Visit their website at allamericandogfence.com, allamericandogfence.com, and listen to this deal. When you call or text All-American Dog Fence at 317-862-6606, you mention the Rob Kendall Show, you get an incredible $200 off. All right, audio. So obviously the huge news yesterday was Lindsey Graham. And late Saturday night, Lindsey Graham passed away. He essentially had, it's not a heart attack, but it's just simplification of what we're talking about here. He had a major heart-related issue, and he passed away. He had just been in the Ukraine. This story is very odd. Look, we'll talk about why people got fed into the conspiracy stuff in a moment, but he was in the Ukraine. He came back. He was giving a speech. He looked perfectly healthy. He had talked to Donald Trump like hours before he died, and other than saying he was a little tired, was perfectly fine, and then he's dead. And again, we'll talk about why the conspiracy stuff sometimes the conspiracy people are just kind of nutty, but this was not their fault. This one, I do not blame them at all, because I was right there with them in terms of like, what is going on here? But it really, I think the takeaway, once you see what the actual cause of death was, is enjoy every moment. You never know, right? Graham was not a young guy. He was 71. You kind of thought of him as younger than he was, just because he was very active. He was out there. Obviously he was very visual. He was on all the TV shows. He was going on all these foreign trips. You just never know. You have to enjoy every single moment, because you never know when the last one is going to be. Now, the reason the conspiracy theory stuff started, obviously, was that he was seen out being very healthy. He's giving a speech. He's calling the president of the United States. But when he died, keep in mind, he had just been in Ukraine. Obviously, they're involved with Russia. Graham was a huge supporter of Israel and the military engagement against Iran. His staff, when he died, claimed he died of, quote, a brief and sudden illness. Now, look, I guess it's words and maybe it's semantics. I don't know. I don't consider having a heart attack, or essentially what the guy had, I don't consider that a brief and sudden illness. And they didn't know what it was, because the medical examiner, the chief medical examiner of Washington, D.C., didn't come out with his findings until later on Sunday. But they did Lindsey Graham a huge disservice by using the phrase brief and sudden illness, because everybody then immediately starts thinking, was this guy poisoned? Was he drugged? Was he assassinated? And normally, like I said, a lot of times the conspiracy theory people are sometimes a little squirrely. On this one, though, you're right there with them. Like, what happened to this guy? We just saw him. He comes from this foreign country. It's in this military conflict. Like, what is going on here? And so really it was his staff using that verbiage. If they'd have said, hey, he had essentially a heart attack, he passed away. Of course, there would have been people out there that would have questioned it, but it really fueled the speculation. And I don't know why they worded it like that. I have no idea why it wasn't a brief and sudden illness. The guy had a heart attack, for all intents and purposes. If you don't know what he had, then you don't say anything. Because that really fueled the speculation. Look, you think about it, right? The guy was 71. Doesn't make him, for a lot of people who are 71, they're living very active, healthy, productive lives, but not a young guy. He'd done all this international travel, which is hard on you. He had a family history of heart illness. His father had passed away at a similar age. And so none of that is, when you factor all that kind of into it, none of it is surprising. But I just don't understand why his staff chose to word it like that, which fueled all of this speculation about what happened to Lindsey Graham. Now, Trump called in to meet the press. Now, remember, last time Trump engaged with Meet the Press, he walked out on Meet the Press. He was in that interview, and he got mad, and he stormed out. But I don't know if this was impromptu or not. They didn't really identify. But Trump called in on Meet the Press. Here is the president of the United States talking about Lindsey Graham.
President Trump, thank you for joining us, and my condolences to you.
Well, thank you. He's a tough one to lose. He was great. He was unique in every way, actually.
He was, Mr. President, and I know that we are all just absorbing this news. We are all in shock. Can you tell us, Mr. President, how you received this news and your immediate gut reaction when you heard it?
So what makes it even stranger is that I got a call last night sometime at, the early evening, maybe in the 7s, and he called and he said, we're all set for the Save America Act. He was pushing the Save America Act like crazy. He got back, said he just landed from Ukraine. I said, that's a long trip to make. He said, he sounded a little tired, but perfect, but a little bit tired. I had a right to be. And he was a worker. He was really a worker. But he sounded great, actually. But he actually said he was tired. But he wanted to pass the Save America Act. And I said, well, we're going to get it done, Lindsey. We're going to get it done. I'll see you soon. We thought maybe we might even meet today. And then that was it. And that was, very around the time. It couldn't have been much longer. It could have been his last call. I don't know exactly. But I got a message about 1 o'clock in the morning from one of the people at his office that he had passed away. I said, I just can't believe it. He was like a member of the family to me. It's very tough, actually. It's amazing.
Mr. President,
he was such an advocate. He was, if he wanted to get something, and he had a unique ability. He was able to deal with Democrats and Republicans. If I had a problem, a real problem, I wouldn't often ask. But if I had a problem with a Democrat, he could work it out. He was a great politician, actually.
All right, that was Donald Trump on Meet the Press yesterday. Now, you know the rule that I have when people pass away, because this is how I want it to be done for me. You say about the people in death what you said about them in life. If you loved them, if you thought they were great, you shower them with praise. You shout it from the mountaintops. You tell everybody how wonderful they were. If you hated the guts, if you couldn't stand them, if you thought they were awful, don't be a hypocrite. I mean, you could say nothing. That's fine, too. But I've never had a problem. Like, if you hated somebody in life, give it to them in death. That's the way I want it. If you loved what I did every day, hopefully I got many, many, many years left. But if not, you tell people about it. Mourn me openly. But if you hated my guts, say, that guy was a rotten son of a gun and I hope he's gone. So that's how I always treat it. And I also think it's very fair when a public figure passes away that we talk about what made them a public figure, both the good and the bad. I don't think you have to lie. I don't think you have to act like if whatever that person did as a public figure you didn't like, that you suddenly have to act like you did. You don't have to do that at all. And so in any person who's a public figure, especially a politician, their record as a politician is 100% fair game when talking about their legacy. Because if Lindsey Graham were not a politician, you would not be talking about him. Nobody would care. I mean, his family would care, but you know what I'm saying. President of the United States would not be on Meet the Press spending, 3, 4, 5 minutes talking about the guy. He's a politician. And the reality is the legacy of Lindsey Graham is a mixed bag. There were certain things that he did, like with the Kavanaugh hearing, that were phenomenal. He was amazing. He was unbelievable helping run the Kavanaugh hearing. He was great. And that guy would not be on the Supreme Court right now if it weren't for Lindsey Graham. 100%. He also loved to spend other people's money. He loved to spend other generations' money. He loved to send, or had no problem, I guess I should word it, sending other people's kids to foreign countries to fight and die. Iraq, Afghanistan, He was more than willing to do it with Iran. And you have to discuss that. The guy did a lot of damage as a U.S. senator. He had a lot of bad votes. He did a lot of bad things. He regularly cozied up to the Democrats pre-Trump. All of that is part of the conversation. It doesn't make you insensitive. We're talking about him because he was a United States senator. He was one of the 100 most powerful people in the country. He may have been a swell guy. I don't know. I never met him. But we're all talking about him because of his role as a United States senator, a very powerful one. And the reality is, his role as a U.S. senator, I'd say there was more bad than good. There were some things like Kavanaugh, you go, wow, that was awesome. And then there was a lot of other stuff where you're like, that was bad. It's okay with public people. Now, there's a way you do it, right? You can have some level of decorum, as I'm trying to have here. You don't have to be overly insensitive about it, but I've never thought when a public figure passes away that you're obligated to make up some story about how you felt about him, and you talk about what made him a public figure. All right, the other big thing that came down yesterday is that Mitch McConnell finally posted a proof of life photo. Finally. Now, for those of you who've seen this photo, he's propped up in a hospital bed, but he's got all of his normal clothes on, and his wife is sitting there with him. So it's not like he's in the hospital with a gown or pajamas or whatever. He's dressed like he's going out to dinner at the Sizzler. And his wife is there, and there's like no tubes on him or anything else. So the question is like, what are you doing? What's going on here? The picture is very strange if you've seen it. Now, I'm not a person. There are people out there like, it's AI, it's this, it's that. I'm not there yet. But he was holding a newspaper. It appeared to be dated yesterday. Here's what Lindsey Graham wrote on, Lindsey Graham, I'm very sorry. Here is what somebody for Mitch McConnell wrote on his social media. By the way, do we think Mitch McConnell has ever actually accessed a Twitter account? Like, if you're like, Mitch, give me a 5-word tweet right now. Do we think he could do it? What percentage of your politicians do you think actually could do it? Quote, my doctors have confirmed that I didn't break any bones or suffer a concussion. I didn't have a heart attack or a stroke. I don't have any tumors or hemorrhages. But I was briefly unconscious and was taken to the hospital. While receiving excellent care over the past several weeks, I've also had to deal with a mild case of pneumonia. So what happened? Why have you been in the hospital? What caused you to go there? And there's no acknowledgement here of whether or not he had to be brought back to life, because that's the reoccurring story through multiple outlets, is that he essentially had to be brought back to life. Quote, I can assure you that I've been a good patient. At my age, I tend to do what doctors tell me to do. I've submitted to every test they can think of to help figure out what caused this incident, and I'm continuing to do everything they ask to speed my recovery. The problem is you've had a bunch of these incidents. Now, not as extreme as this one, but the freezing, the falling. This has happened over and over and over again. In fact, with signs of continued progress, I've been able to move from hospital care to rehabilitation center, where I'll keep regaining my strength. As much of it frustrates me, this process takes time. And on the advice of my doctors, I won't be able to return to the Senate floor to vote quite yet. So he's still out. I mean, we're going on a month here. But rest assured that in the meantime, I'm not taking a break from the Senate business that matters. Yes, you are. You are taking a break of the Senate business that matters to me. You're not voting. Your job is to vote. That's your job. I've been working closely with my legislative staff on current issues and with my Kentucky team, who helped me provide timely constituent services across our Commonwealth. I've also been keeping in touch with my Senate colleagues on the appropriations process, midterm politics, and everything in between. Who gives a damn? You're not there. You haven't been there for a month now. You're not working. You've frozen, you've fallen, you've been out for a month. Like, I'm not trying to be insensitive to people getting older and these things happening. It happens to a lot of older people. I hope every person that has this happen gets the care they need. You're a U.S. Senator. Stop being one. You can't do it anymore. Right? We all get older. Things change. It doesn't make your life any less valuable. It means you can't do this job anymore, clearly. And you haven't been able to do it effectively for a long time. Stop. Quit. Go home. So shortly before this photo and tweet by McConnell's people was released, Indy Bashir, who is the governor of Kentucky, was on MS Now. That's the new MSNBC. And he was asked if he had received, so again, remember, this is just before all of this came out. And again, I'm not mad at Bashir at all. I'm Team Bashir on this because this guy had disappeared for weeks, this guy being McConnell. He disappeared. No one's seen him, heard from him. A couple of people said, we had conversations with him, no proof of anything. You're a U.S. Senator. Look, if you in your personal life, you as a normal citizen, you get sick, you want to disappear for a month, great on you. You're not a U.S. Senator. You do whatever you want. 350 million people don't depend on you to go to work each day. This is not about trying to invade the guy's privacy. It's that you give up stuff when you become one of the 100 most powerful people on the planet. And that is some level of privacy, especially if you're not coming to work. And we rip the Democrats like Lloyd Austin when they disappear, so we have to do it to McConnell. So Bashir is on MS Now, and he's asked, because remember, last week, Bashir, the governor of Kentucky, sent a letter to McConnell saying, bro, you've been El Disappearo, for close to a month. I, as the governor, the chief executive of this state, am going to need to see some sort of proof of life because I would be in charge of calling the special session, et cetera, overseeing the government to appoint you. I want to see something, anything. And so he said, as of a couple hours before McConnell putting this out, that he still had not seen anything from McConnell. Here's the governor of Kentucky.
Have you gotten a response from the senator or his office?
Nothing. Not a call, not an email, not a letter, not even an official statement from Senator McConnell. And I haven't seen an official statement from him during this entire period or even after the passing of his friend, Senator Graham. I will admit that I'm concerned. I get that we all have a right to privacy for our health. But when you run for an office like mine or Senator McConnell's, you answer to the voters. And if you are in the hospital for an entire month, you owe it to the people that elected you to give them an update, to show that you continue to have the capacity to serve. And for me, I represent those same people. And so I'm pushing for them to get the answers they deserve. All he has to do is call in to maybe Fox News network that he should be comfortable going on. He could call into this show, Reverend, or he could put out an official statement. He could send a short video. The failure to do so for this long raises serious and legitimate concerns.
Look, Bashir's a Democrat. I don't care. He's absolutely right. You're a U.S. Senator. He's the governor of the state. I don't care what party he is. Same party, different party. He's the chief executive. If you've disappeared, it's not like we were getting updates on, hey, I'm, under the weather. I got this pneumonia. I'll be back, whatever. Okay, you can agree with that, disagree with it, whether he's at work. You know where he is. Hey, I fell. I'm fine. I can't come to work right now. Okay, we can have that out. We can discuss that, whether he should resign, whatever. But at least you know where he is. You know he's alive. This guy, McConnell, disappeared. The chief executive of the state, and by the way, governors talk to senators of other parties from their home state all the time, so this is not unusual, sends you a letter simply requesting proof of life, and you won't give it to him? That's pathetic. I don't care what party the governor is. Mitch McConnell is the bad guy in all of this. They're clearly hiding something. There's clearly something they didn't want the public to know. And we know that he is incapable of coming to work because he hasn't been at work. We don't have to speculate on how big a deal it is. The governor of Kentucky is absolutely right. Mitch McConnell is in the wrong here. People have health issues. It happens. Great. And if you're a private citizen, you're not a government official, tell whoever you want. I don't care. You're one of the 100 most powerful people in the country. Your citizens depend on you. The taxpayers of your state depend on you. The country depends on you to go to work and vote, and you're not doing it. The governor of Kentucky is absolutely right. Okay, I have next some fascinating audio from, of all people, Mick Jagger. I know that sounds weird. I couldn't get enough of this interview he did with the New York Times. Before we do that, though, found your next home, but don't have your current home sold yet? One of the biggest challenges homeowners face is coordinating the sale of their current home with the purchase of their next one. Gary Tedrow with Verity Mortgage helps Central Indiana families explore bridge loan and home equity solutions that may provide flexibility during the transition. Whether you're moving up, downsizing, or need access to your home's equity, Gary takes the time to understand your goals and walk you through your options. Visit loansbygary.homes to learn more. Loansbygary.homes. Gary Tedrow, Verity Mortgage, NMLS number 179207. NMLS number 179207, equal housing lender. Gary's been with us since the beginning. He's a huge fan of what we do. We love Gary. Thank you to Gary. Loansbygary.homes. All right. So Mick Jagger, and you're like, why are you playing Mick Jagger? Well, first of all, I think Mick Jagger has lived one of the most interesting lives of any human in the history of ever. I have thought that for years. Now, I'm not overly enthralled with the Rolling Stones music. I think it all kind of sounds the same. Like, I think every Rolling Stones hit kind of sounds. There are a few that are a little different, but for the most part, it's kind of the same stuff. But that aside, the life of the Rolling Stones, who next to the Beatles are arguably the most important, certainly rock band that ever lived, and Mick Jagger's longevity, the man is 82 years old. He's 82 years old. He has a new album coming out, and they're talking about another tour. It's unbelievable. And if you see the guy move, because the Stones still do a few shows every year, like one-offs. They'll get a huge amount of money to go to, a lot of times it's another country. They're not leaving on like a tour for an album. He still looks incredible. 82. I saw Mick Jagger 11 years ago on the 4th of July at the track, and he was amazing. And I just think the life that the guy has led, the longevity, the influence, all of it is fascinating. And one of the things Mick Jagger doesn't do a lot of is interviews. It's pretty rare Mick Jagger does an interview. And so when he does, you're always interested, like, what does he have to say? And I've always thought this about Mick Jagger. He has always seemed, and, you know, guys put on faces when they're in the front of the public, so who knows? But he's always seemed pretty happy and jovial in interviews, especially later on in life. He's always seemed like he's very appreciative of what he has. Well, I was going to get to that maybe in a little bit. Because one of the things so the New York Times did this interview with Mick Jagger. A bunch of the clips have dropped down. And one of the things they asked Mick Jagger about was the Rolling Stones have always shied away, for the most part, from politics. And especially later on, as more and more of these singers, they mentioned, when the guy asking him the questions, you know, mentioned like a Bruce Springsteen, who is openly political in his concerts now. Now, I get asked this all the time, like, Rob, given your politics, how could you be a Bruce Springsteen fan? And I always tell people this, and you don't have to like it. It just is what it is. The Bruce Springsteen music that I fell in love with was wildly independent in its condemnation of politics and politicians. And if you look at the music from like 1975 to 85, which was the peak of Springsteen, it's an equal opportunity offender. It was only later in life that he became much more liberal, open about his liberalism, whatever. And I can isolate, right? And we've had that conversation before. But if you go to a Bruce Springsteen concert, you're going to get overt commentary on society of the day. And others. Mellencamp is one of them. Now, I don't know on this new tour if he's doing that. He's playing a lot of the hits. I've watched a couple of them. You guys know I have a very good friend who is the keyboard player for Mellencamp, Troy Kennett, who's a local musician, one of the greatest musicians in Indianapolis history. He's phenomenal keyboard player. And so I always try to watch. The great thing about now is you never even have to go to the shows. The next day, you got 50 camera phone videos of the concert from the night before. And so I've tried to watch the new tour that Mellencamp's on, which he's playing, well, it'll always be Deer Creek to me, right? He's playing Deer Creek on Saturday. He seems less, like I haven't seen really any politics in a lot of this. Seems much less political. But if you go to a Mellencamp concert over the years, good chance you're going to get politics. The Rolling Stones don't do that. And Mick Jagger got asked why, despite having the influence and the voice and all the people that he's in front of and the potential to sway people's opinions, why he stays away from politics compared to some of these other people. I thought his answer was very interesting. Take a listen.
My job in the live music world is just those people that come is to have the best time they possibly can, and for 2 hours or whatever it is, to forget all their problems and the problems of the world and their mortgages and their whatever, and if they have problems, or just to give them, they can have just the best time. It's similar going to a sports event, really, because you everything else is shut out. You're just watching who's going to win. You're not worrying about everything else. Those things are out of your mind. I know you're still you're on the phone and everything. Your little Danny has hurt his tooth, but I know you can still have that. But I know you can still have that, but in the old days you never had that really. So that's my job. So is to make them have the best time they possibly have. And some audiences want to go completely nuts, so then you encourage them to go more nuts. And say you can play to some places in the world, it's different, you play in Finland, it's not the same as playing in Argentina, There's a different, they don't want to go completely so nuts. Maybe they do. I'm just using it as possibles. Yeah. But so you don't want to be trying to churn them up into get frustrated that they're not being demonstrative, or you don't think they're having a good time, because they might be quite relatively calm. They might be relatively, they're having a good time, but in their, I always say to everyone else, they're having a good time in their own way. But as you go to another place and they're going completely apeshit, so and your job is to make them more apeshit. That's the one that want to go apeshit, but let's go apeshit, so.
I want to dig a little deeper on that question.
Yeah.
So you're talking about what your job is in those events, is to make people have a good time, they want to leave the concert feeling like it was worth it and they can forget their trouble.
And you don't want to lecture them.
You don't want to lecture them.
Yeah, and I think that it's fascinating to me because it's all about legacy, right? You look at Mick Jagger, he's 82 years old. Now, the guy could live to be 105. Who knows? The Rolling Stones, him and Keith Richards probably can. And Ron Wood, who knows? But you realize he sort of knows, hey, at any given point, it could be the end. And I think when everybody builds their legacy in their own way. And I think the Rolling Stones have always been very cognizant to say, we're going to endear ourselves. Our legacy is the longevity and the endearing of ourselves to as many people as we possibly can. And you don't do that. You aren't capable of doing that when you take a political stance or a political side. Look, you go to the Mellencamp shows, he never has problems selling tickets. You go to the Springsteen show, he never has problems selling tickets. You go to the Taylor Swift show, it never has any problem selling tickets. It's not about whether you have a problem selling tickets or not, especially in the post-COVID era where everybody's desperate to get out and go see live stuff and will pay huge prices to do it. It's about what's the legacy, how broad do you want to be remembered in an endearing fashion? And quite frankly, it does harm the legacy of a lot of these guys. I mean, I have refused to go to any of the Springsteen shows now. It doesn't affect the shows that I've been to and how great they were. It doesn't affect the memories that I have. It doesn't affect how the music impacted me from the period in which I enjoy it. But I don't want to be exposed to that, so I won't go. I don't want that to be something I remember. So I don't go. I would have no problem going to a Rolling Stones show, as I did 11 years ago. It was freaking great. Those guys were 70 then. So there is no right or wrong way to do it. It's the same thing we talked about last week with Ricky Gervais, saying that the actors at the Hollywood Awards shows shouldn't lecture people. He's right. If you care about a broad base and making your audience as big as you can, you shouldn't do it. Same thing with sports stars. You shouldn't do it. You're going to alienate people. But some people don't care about that. They don't care about having an audience that's as broad as it can possibly be, or as big, or as encompassing. Some people just don't care. And that's okay. It's America. Do whatever you want to do. You set the ticket price. You charge what you want. People come, they come. They don't, they don't. You know what you're getting into. The other piece of audio, and again, it's just so rare that Mick Jagger does interviews. And I think I'm always interested when he does interviews. He got asked about being an entertainer and how to handle fame and notoriety and how that has changed for him as he's gotten older. How do you handle being a public figure? How do you handle being noticed? And look, I'm not saying this as I have a fraction of the fame or the notoriety of Mick Jagger, but what he said really hit home. Because while Mick Jagger has achieved in his life infinitely more fame and wealth than I will ever dream of, we get recognized. People tune in every day. They did for years with the number one show, and now thousands and thousands of people doing this. And as someone with a little bit of success as it relates to entertainment, I totally get what he's saying about how you approach things in your 20s and 30s versus as how you get older. Let's take a listen to what Mick Jagger had to say about how he handles fame later in life.
I think psychologically your actual state of mind is permanently damaged by this or affected, or I think when you're in your late 20s and early 30s is a very tough time for people in this business because it's a big ego trip, basically. It's a huge, you have to have a huge ego to do this. If you don't, lots of people that do this that don't have huge egos have huge problems because they have to manufacture a completely different. Of course, my personality on stage is not. I have a friend who says, the standing joke is that I behave at a dinner party like I behave on stage. So,
is that friend right?
Yeah, we make jokes about it. It's because it's absurd what you do on stage. Of course, I'm not really like my stage persona. The person to be like that all the time, this overbearing, shouting, ego-tripping person, is like, of course, you're not really like that. But I think when you're in your late 20s and early 30s, you can be like that all the time. And there are people in show business that never switch off.
Did you have to learn to switch off?
Yeah, I think it comes with age. So this is I think the show business like dichotomy, and it's like it's something you learn to live with, and you always hope. Of course, it isn't true. You always hope that you're a so-called normal person.
I think that's part of anybody with age, right? You learn how to be an adult, and in our industry, that being entertainment, whether you do this or you're a musician or whatever, you have to learn how to switch it off. One of the things that was, for me, I woke up when I was like, it is exhausting being me because I can't ever turn this off. And as I've gotten older, I've been able to teach myself. And one of the biggest changes for me was when my daughter was born. And I said every day, especially after she started being old enough to go to daycare, I said, I'm going to turn it off starting at 5 o'clock. You work as hard as you can, you do it to the best of your ability, and then it's your family. And I that was interesting to hear it from him, one of the most iconic characters in the history of entertainment, talking about the same thing. Saying, when I'm in my 20s and 30s, I felt like I kind of had to be Mick Jagger all the time. And then I realized that's exhausting. And you start to hate yourself. You start to hate yourself. And so, great interview. You watch the whole thing. It's really good. Mick Jagger is a fascinating, fascinating person. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, the city of Indianapolis is considering a temporary ban on data centers. This is a wild flip-flop from where they were just last week. We'll talk about it. When we come back, you're watching Rob Kendall Show.
Right now, everything's expensive. That includes things you need around the house. If your water heater, water softener, or well pump goes out, or even if your toilet stops working, you could be looking at a major expense. Don't let your next call to a plumber break the bank. Call John at Black Sheep Plumbing. John is a Hoosier lifer who takes pride in and stands behind his work. That's why all basic services and repairs with Black Sheep Plumbing come with a 2-year parts and labor guarantee, with water heaters having a 6-year parts and tank guarantee. Call or text Black Sheep Plumbing for all your needs today and speak directly with John, the owner. 765-315-7558. That's Black Sheep Plumbing at 765-315-7558.
Did you know Honeysuckle Hill in Brazil offers more than just a fabulous made-from-scratch meal at the bistro? It also has an adjoining cottage, great for a perfect, relaxing weekend away with a scenic waterfront view. The cottage offers 3 bedrooms, 2 baths with spa-like tile showers, full kitchen, living room with fireplace, laundry facilities, and a full deck overlooking the lake. And Andy, one of the owners, delivers breakfast in a picnic basket at 8:30 each morning. Plan the perfect weekend away at the scenic Honeysuckle Hill property on the water in beautiful Brazil. Book today by visiting their website at honeysucklehillb.com.
Are you seeing cracks in mortar, moisture working through walls, facade or structural failure beginning to surface? Bramwell Mackay sets the standard for exterior and structural building solutions. Our 40-year master masons and industry experts address moisture intrusion, failing foundations, masonry deterioration, and more. From preserving historic landmarks to addressing modern building envelope issues, Bramwell Mackay delivers full-spectrum service with white-glove professionalism. In Indianapolis, call 812-33-BRICK. 812-33-BRICK.
Hey guys, welcome back. It is the Rob Kendall Show. Thanks for joining us. Man, we got to get to Indy, this proposed ban on data centers. This is crazy. But first, if you haven't done so yet, help us out. Hit that little thumbs up button. If you're watching the program live or on demand on YouTube, hit that little thumbs up button. Really helps us grow the program. Like, share, and subscribe. That's how you can get the word out about the Rob Kendall Show. Nobody's doing Indiana news, politics, and government like us. Now, tomorrow, our frenemy, Matt Gentry's going to be here. He's not happy with some of my coverage the past few weeks about the referendum that he's putting up for the police station. And then this article in the Star in which these people who live around the Leap District in great detail said our lives have been destroyed. And he's not happy. So we like Gentry because he comes in and he takes the smoke and he brings it back. And that's what, you got gutless cowards like Mike Young, state senator, who just are real Billy badasses on the internet. Gentry comes in and says it face to face. I like that. I admire that. When somebody don't like me, I like it that they say it to my face. So he'll be with us tomorrow. That's always a very lively discussion. So we'll look forward to that. Okay. Before we get to the data centers, hey, if you're making plans for lunch this week or dinner, check out our friends at Double D's Southern Barbecue in Clayton. Authentic, wood-smoked, Memphis-style barbecue. They're open Wednesday through Saturday, lunch and dinner. They're right there on 40 and 39 where they come together. And if you would like something different, they are the place for you. They are not screwing around when it comes to barbecue. They're winners of both best ribs and best sauce at Rib Fest in Hendricks County. Ribs, brisket, and more. They do it all. Of course, they've got the daily specials. You can see everything for yourself. DDBBQ317.com. DDBBQ317.com. I don't think there's a single one of you guys who have been out there yet who are like, that was an underwhelming experience. I think everybody has loved it. Dennis, Tina, the owners, they're huge fans of our show. Their son Garrett as well. They're catering that big event for Rust coming up October the 3rd. Go out and support people to support the show. Double D's Barbecue in Clayton. Make plans for lunch or dinner later this week. Open Wednesday through Saturday. All right, so big news came out late last week, and that involves the city of Indianapolis and the announcement from the city county council president, Maggie Lewis, that she is going to introduce an amendment today which will pause data center development in the city of Indianapolis. Now, Fox 59 has a big article about this. Numerous other media outlets have covered it. Now, just because the amendment's presented doesn't mean it's going to pass, but this is a gigantic step forward, and it is a huge deal because it is coming from the council president. First of all, it's not just some individual council. It's the council president who in large part controls the agenda. And because it is coming from the capital city. And so here's the quote from Maggie Lewis. This pause will provide the city county council, the administration, industry experts, and community stakeholders the opportunity to fully evaluate the long-term impacts of these developments, including infrastructure demands, utility capacity, environmental considerations, economic outcomes, and neighborhood quality of life. Bingo. Thank you. This is what I've been saying for years now. I mean, we saw the hyper push for data centers in Indiana really started about 2022, 23. And I was saying at the time, we need to stop on this until we get our heads around it. Again, not anti-data center. We've been very, very specific about that on this show. I'm not anti-data center. I fully recognize the fine living I'm earning today is because data centers exist. Kick me off the radio tower, we go to the data center. You're welcome. So I'm not anti-data center. And there's a lot of good that's going to come from data centers and from AI in the future. But we as a society got to get our heads around it, and we got to get some buy-in from everybody. And buy-in from everybody means the government, the data center people, the communities, the taxpayers. Right now, there is no coordination on any of this. Everybody's doing their own thing. And all you're getting is doubt, uncertainty, lack of transparency, and it is ultimately resulting in the gutting of communities, the dividing of communities. And it doesn't have to be that way. But it really has to start. It cannot start at the individual community. It has to start at the state. And I'm a big local control person, and ultimately that's where this will rest, is with local control. But you've got to get some level of guidance from the state. You can't just have every community making it up as they go along, because the reality is the way things like power work is if you have a power provider in Avon, if they want to do a data center, it's going to affect people across the state who use that power provider. If you are a data centers proposed in, Greenfield, and that power provider, the amount of electricity it takes, that it's a statewide. People's rates are affected statewide. It's not just in that community. Oh, they're using a bunch of power there. Their rates have to go up in Greenfield. No, everybody's rates should go up. So that when I talk about the state having buy-in, the state having a say, the state setting essentially a floor or guardrails or whatever you want to call it around this to get the conversation started, that's where it has to emanate, because the state is affected by what each of these communities is doing related to these mega developments that involve all sorts of power and water. If local governments want to be stricter, I'm not opposed to that at all. But we have to get some sort of broad understanding. And one of the issues is I don't think anybody understands how the data centers pay off for us. When you factor in the exemptions and the abatements and all of this stuff as a collective, I'm not talking about maybe individual communities that have individual deals. But I'm saying as a collective, all the money, all the incentives that we're putting behind these data centers, people don't see the payoff. And so maybe the city of Indianapolis, leading by example, maybe the city of Indianapolis saying, okay, we'll go first. And if indeed this passes, now again, it's just being an amendment being presented, it's not passed, then maybe that will spur other communities to say us too. And then maybe enough us twos will force state government to say, we got to act. We got to do something. Lewis went on to say, our responsibility is to make informed decisions that serve the best interest of Indianapolis residents. Given the significant questions that remain, a deliberate review is both prudent and necessary before moving forward. Exactly. Now, what's fascinating about this is how quickly the city government, or at least people inside of the city government, appear to have flipped. Because just last week, the Metropolitan Development Commission recently advanced recommendations to the council related to how to legislate data centers. And the council appeared to be on board with moving forward with the data centers and how to police them to some capacity. Lewis told Fox 59, quote, "The council's been watching this process unfold in real time for several months now, and all sides say they need more time. Additionally, many more questions about the Metropolitan Development Commission's recommendation require further community engagement. This moratorium will allow just that." Now, don't underscore this reporting from the Indy Star. Remember last week we told you about the reporting from the Star in which the city government, with that proposed Metro Blocks data center, I believe it was Martindale Brightwood's the neighborhood, the staff, the city staff, appeared to be against the data center, offering a negative recommendation until one of Hogsett's top people stepped in. And then all of a sudden, really without explanation, they flipped on the recommendation. You have to look at that and go, what is going on here? And when nobody understands or no explanation is given, it's going to cause a lot of pushback. Lewis went on to say, if this amendment passes, there will be a moratorium on new data centers. The community can expect the council to continue pursuing more answers on utility capacity, environmental concerns, and minimum requirements. Bingo. The issues, again, that you have. Number one, all of this stuff is abated. So when you get enamored with the idea of the value of the building, there's massive tax abatements. They're paying a fraction of what they should be paying. Sales tax exemptions. All the stuff they're buying, they're getting special exemptions for. It's not creating employees. What, the 30 or so employees, 35 employees for the one we talked about last week? What's the benefit? What are you getting to the community in the immediate future? Now, you might be able to say, well, in 30 years, that billion-dollar building, well, who knows what it's going to be in 30 years? I may not even be here. Jason, he'll certainly be here. But me, who knows? You know, unless you're 15 years old, 30 years don't mean nothing to you, although it will go by fast. Isn't it wild to think 1996 was 30 years ago? That's crazy. 1996 was 30 years ago. But we have to, and look, we can be critical about tons of things with the Indianapolis city government, and we should. But we have to applaud the fact that they are leading by example here and saying this has to stop until we understand it. This has to stop until we get a full understanding of what these things are, what's going on, the financial ramifications, and the resource implications. Good on them. What spurred this after appearing to be charging fully ahead, I don't know. But credit where credit's due. Pause on data centers. Very much, very well warranted. Good on the Indianapolis city government. All right, let's take a break. Hour 3 is here. We've made it to Hour 3. John Rust, the fabulous sponsor of Hour 3. We've got a ton of stuff to get to, including, guys, I go back and forth on this, and I want to get your thoughts in the YouTube chat about how much money is being wagered in the prediction market on politics this year. You know, gambling, that's illegal on politics in this country, but the prediction market, which is basically gambling under just a different set of names and slightly different rules, well, that's fine. And I am concerned about the amount of money being wagered in our country on politics. But I want to know, am I off on this? Is there merit? We'll talk about it. Hour 3 when we come back. Plus, Jason had the best YouTube comments today. Tons of stuff to get to. We'll take a break. We'll be back. You're watching Rob Kendall Show.
Is your driveway showing signs of wear? Freeze-thaw cycles, road salt, environmental buildup like mold and dirt can all cause unsightly damage that can end up in an expensive repair. That's where Seal Now comes in. Seal Now are the clean, seal, and stain professionals that can help you protect your outdoor surfaces. Got a worn-out fence or deck? They can revive the look while providing long-term protection. Call today, 317-548-2002, or visit sealnow.com. Not only will you get a free estimate, but mention you heard about Seal Now on the Rob Kendall Show and receive 20% off any long-term sealing project.
Is the inside of your house a total mess, like a complete dumpster fire? Call AJ's Picture Perfect Cleaning. When you walk into your house after using AJ's Picture Perfect cleaning, you will see and smell the difference. They take great pride in their workers and treat your home like their own. All cleaners pass through a background check and drug screening. Call today and mention you heard about AJ's Picture Perfect cleaning on the Rob Kendall Show, and you will get an incredible $50 off your first clean. AJ's Picture Perfect cleaning serves all of Central Indiana. Book your appointment today by calling 317-530-8148. 317-530-8148.
If authentic wood-smoked barbecue is your thing, Double D's Barbecue in Clayton is the place for you. Owners Dennis and Tina Duncan, along with their son Garrett, are from Memphis. So when it comes to barbecue, they're not screwing around. No pellet smokers, no roasters, just authentic wood-smoked Memphis-style barbecue. All of Double D's food is cooked fresh daily, and it's all made from scratch. Double D's Barbecue, located at 40 and 39 in Clayton, is open all day Wednesday through Saturday, but get there early because once they're sold out, they're done. Check out the full menu, ribs, brisket, and more at ddbbq317.com.
All right, this is some BS, and we got to talk about it. And I just saw this story. I wasn't going to do it today, but I saw it, and now I'm pissed off. So we're going to do it. It's the Rob Kendall Show. Thanks for joining us. Hey, don't forget, the Honeysuckle Hill Bistro and Cottage in Brazil. If you're looking for a weekend away, an evening out, that is the place for you. It's on the water, scenic outdoor setting. The restaurant is open Friday through Sunday, Friday for dinner, Saturday for dinner, Sunday for brunch buffet. We'll be telling you about the menu specifically for this week's special menu this week coming up a little bit later on in the week, but also the cottage. The cottage is amazing. It is right there on the water next to the restaurant. It is an awesome opportunity if you want to just get away for a day, 2 days, whatever. Honeysuckle Hill Bistro and Cottage on the water in beautiful Brazil. Get out there. Check it out. Reserve your spot today. 812-443-3003. 812-443-3003. The cottage offers 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, spa-lock tile showers, full kitchen, living room with a fireplace, laundry facilities, a full deck overlooking the lake, and Andy, the owner, when you book an evening at the cottage, Andy, the owner, delivers you your breakfast at 8:30 in the morning in a picnic basket. Google Honeysuckle Hill Bistro and Cottage for dinner reservations, for the menu, and to reserve the cottage. 812-443-3003. All right, this is some BS, and I'm going to talk about it. And the government does this all the time, and it pisses me off. So from the Capitol Chronicle, Governor Mike Braun informed state employees Monday they'll receive a one-time bonus in their July 29th paycheck. Every state employee. Now, this is not, we're talking about like a merit system, right? Like exceeds expectations, or meets expectations. You get a bonus, right? This is everyone. Listen to this stuff. Executive branch employees will receive up to $2,500 depending on their time of service. That's it. How long you been there? Now, this is not an indictment of state employees. If someone's going to hand you money, you take it, right? If someone says, here's money, you take it. You don't ask any questions. I'm not indicting you. Good on you that you got it. Bad on me that you're getting it. It will cost the state about $80 million. Not you did good. Not you did great. Not you did mediocre. You're a state employee. Here's money. What corporation works that way? Like what company is like, hey, you're an employee, here's money. Did you do good? I don't know, but here's money. $80 million handed to people based on how long they've worked there. Listen to this. Others will be paid as follows. Hired before January 13, 2025, when Braun took office, you get $2,500. Hired between January 14, 2025 and July 1st of 2025, $2,000. You've been there a year and a half, you get $2,000. What the hell is that? That's so insulting. You've been in a place for a year and a half and they just hand you $2,000 whether you did good or not? That's nuts. Hired between January 2nd, or July 2nd, 2025 and December 31st, 2025, you get $1,000. You've been there a year or less and you get $1,000 for what? You haven't even been there long enough to use it as a resume builder. This is why people hate government. Because it's one thing to reward good government. Like, hey, so-and-so really exceeded expectations. So-and-so did a great job. So-and-so went way above and beyond. Give them money. Great, no problem with it. I've told you the story about how the merit system works. Have I told that story here? I know I used to tell it all the time on the old radio show. Have I told this story? When I was the pharmacy board director, and remember, I worked at the auditor's office. I left. They came to me and said, and I was excited to be done. Hey, it's time for Robert to go back to owning his business. No, we'd like you to be they initially came to me and said, we think you've done a great job. We'd like you to be the medical board director. And I was like, I think you have to be a doctor to do that. They're like, no, you don't. I was like, well, it's a medical board. Shouldn't you be a doctor to understand how medicine works? No. It's just administrative. You'll be fine. And then I started looking at the job and I was like, oh, they oversee abortion people. No, thanks. I really don't want to deal with that. No, thank you. Then they came back to me 2 weeks later. They're like, we got a job for you. I was like, I told you I want to go home. And they're like, we got a job for you. I said, what job's that? They said, pharmacy board director. I said, well, same issue, just pharmacy instead of medical. Don't you have to be a pharmacist? Shouldn't you be a pharmacist? They're like, no pharmacist would take this job for what we pay. You don't have to be a pharmacist. You just have to be an administrator. You're great at administering things. You've owned a business. You do good in the town government. I said, again, I don't know. So what they did was they sold it to me as we're reforming the PLA. The PLA, it sounds like some sort of Palestinian group, right? It's not. It's professional licensing agency. They said, we're reforming the PLA. We want you to be down there because we're taking over. We're kicking ass and taking names. You'd be great to be down there with us as we take over and reform the government. I said, oh, great. There was no government reform that went on while I was down there. And every time you tried to reform it, it just became a colossal headache. But anyway, one of the things I had to do as the pharmacy board director is I had people who worked under me. And you had to, this is when Pence came up with the idea, I think it was Pence invented it. Pence, it was his initiative, was the merit pool, where he said, we're gonna pay people based on how they've performed. So if you suck as an employee, you're not going to get nearly as much as the person who does great. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. Because I had two ladies who worked under me. They did the work of 10 people. I was like, oh, these people totally are awesome. They totally deserve to be rewarded. Great. So I fill out their evaluation and turn it in. It exceeds expectations. These people are awesome. They work their asses off. They're great. And they come back to me and they go, we're going to need you to change the evaluations of these people. And I said, well, why would I do that? I can't. I initially thought they meant higher. And I was like, well, I can't go any higher, I don't think. I think I gave them the best you could possibly do. And they're like, no, we're going to need you to cut it down. So why would I do that? They kick ass every day. They do the work of 10 people. There's 2 of them. I think I might have gotten to 3 by that point. They gave me a third person. I was like, why would I do that? They said, because we've exceeded the merit pool. I said, what do you mean, pool? Nobody said anything about a pool. I saw the announcement from the governor. There was there's this much money, and when it's gone, it's gone. Yeah, well, there's a pool, and we've exceeded it. And then I said, well, let me have a conversation with, the real estate board director because, and I'm just making up names here, right? Because what if my people did better than their people? Why do they get the money? And they come to find out when they talked about exceeding the merit pool, the tippy top people all gave themselves raises. So all the money in the pool, much of it got eaten up by the tippy top people giving themselves raises. That's how the merit pool works in state government. Or at least it did. I'm going to guess it hasn't gotten much better. But what the hell is that? You've been somewhere for less than a year. We give you $1,000 for what? Again, you couldn't even put that on a resume. It would work against you. I was at the state for 6 months. That doesn't show a lot of stick-to-itiveness. You're out. You couldn't even put it on your resume, and I, as a taxpayer, I'm going to give you $1,000? What the hell? Am I way off on that? I'm not trying to be a Grinch here. But I don't think if you've been somewhere for a year and a half, you deserve $2,000.
I do.
Just, you can't. You can't. Well, that's merit. That's not just handing it to you because you're there. Fine, if you want to say there's a merit pool and somebody met it, but that's not what they're doing. They're just saying you showed up. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's ridiculous. Like if you told me, hey, we're going to institute this one-time merit pool thing and I'm going to have people evaluate and we'll give it to them. Okay, whatever. But again, remember, there's no money to help you with all this other stuff. Hey, you know who I'd be fascinated to hear from is Debbie Holcomb. Hey, Debbie, remember they told you there's no money to pay you to watch your severely disabled son? If Debbie's in the chat right now, I'd be fascinated to hear from her. Because remember, the state is slashing the money that they're giving to parents and brothers and sisters who care for their severely disabled kids because there's no money for that. But they found $80 million to give to people, some of them who have been there for 6 months. What planet does that make sense on? It's just, these people are all disgusting. They're gross. It's the third hour. It's brought to you by John Rust. Thank you to John for allowing us to do this fabulous program for 3 hours instead of 2, so that I can touch on stories like that as they come across my cellular telephone as I'm doing the show. I may add that to tomorrow's template too. I'm so angry about that. I'm so angry. And you should be too. That's gross. All right, so The Hill had an article about what they call the prediction markets, and how much money is being spent in the prediction markets on elections, on politics. So for those of you who don't know, it is illegal in the United States to bet on politics. However, legally, you can do it in what's called the prediction market. I mean, essentially it is betting. And what you do in the prediction market is you bet odds. Now, I've never done this. It seems like something to me that's going to end up on a watch list at some point, though perfectly legal in the country right now. And so it is essentially an end-around way to bet on politics in the United States based on a prediction of what is likely to happen. And the prediction market users, according to The Hill, via a report from NBC News, have already wagered almost $200 million on the midterm results. As of Sunday morning, the most likely outcome in the November midterms is Democrats take control of the Senate and the House, according to Kalshi. That's one of the big prediction markets. The prediction market gives that outcome a 46% probability. With a GOP-controlled Senate and a Democratic-controlled House having a 38% chance of occurring. So 84% of the prediction market, let's say wagering, but that's technically not the right word, has the Democrats either getting one or both of the branches of government. Kalshi puts the odds of Republicans maintaining their narrow grip on both chambers at 17%, while the chances of Democrats flipping the Senate and Republicans keeping the House are 1.7%. So if you got in on that prediction market, you could make a fortune. Okay, so first of all, there's that the money is saying they think the Democrats are going to take both. The second money says they think the Republicans are going to take the House, but not the Senate. Overwhelming, that's where the money is. That's the first part of the story. The second part of the story is how, look, and you guys know I'm big in sports betting, right? I love sports betting. We got a sports betting show coming up this fall. So I don't have any problem with people wagering. I do, however, have some concerns when it's control of society, right? Because there have been players who have been caught point shaving, rigging games, whatever, right? And those people get in big trouble, like as in you potentially go to serious jail trouble. And so it happens in sports. Why would we think that wouldn't happen in politics? If we're catching people doing it in sports, where these players are getting paid money from bookies or whatever to engage in manipulative behavior to affect outcomes of games or point totals or whatever, why would we think that's not going to happen in politics? Like, think about how easy it would be if you could buy a U.S. Senate candidate or buy a U.S. House candidate, and then you put a bunch of money in this prediction market, and then that person throws their election. They do or say stupid things towards the end of the election, whatever. They don't try as hard as they could, and then they get a percentage of the money. I'm not saying it has happened. I'm saying it could easily happen. We've seen it happen in sports. And I love sports, and I love sports betting. And by the way, you guys are going to love the sports betting show, which starts towards the end of August. But sports is not society, right? It's not people's health care. It's not their taxes. It's not foreign wars. It's not border security. I'm trying not to be a hypocrite with all of this because I am a sports bettor. I'm not like an addicted gambler, but, I do it. So I'm trying not to be a hypocrite. But I think there's a huge issue here. The other issue is people using insider info to rig the outcomes of the markets, right? Think about if you're working for a campaign and you get an internal poll that the public doesn't see. It'd be like getting an injury report for sports and the public can't see it. It's why the injury reports, like in the NFL and stuff, are so closely monitored. It's why they're so closely policed. Teams can get in trouble if they violate the procedures for the injury report. You don't want some, not only team, but also bettors, of which now is a huge part of these national professional sports leagues, getting an advantage. You could easily get this here. If you work for a campaign and you get an internal poll, or you know of some potential scandal that's out there, if you're working for a candidate and you know either about a scandal involving your candidate or the opposition, you get in on this to make a whole bunch of money. I don't know. By the way, there was a poll done by Politico in which 44% of respondents said betting on elections should be illegal. 10% said legal. The rest said they didn't know. So the plurality of people, not the majority, but the plurality of people said placing wagers on politics should be illegal. Yeah, I think it's a red flag. What do you guys think? I know some of you participate in this, the Kalshi, the poly markets, the prediction markets. I know some of you do participate in it. What do you guys think about it? Let me know in the YouTube chat. Because remember, that's the best part of every show, is where you become the star of the program. All you got to do, by the way, to participate in our YouTube chat with hundreds of other Rob Kendall Show listeners is be a subscriber to the channel. It's part of the like, share, and subscribe that we do, that we ask you to do every day. Speaking of it, like it. Come on. We got to get some more likes here, guys. We're slacking a little bit today. Great listenership, great participation. The thumbs up, it's a little bit behind where I'd like it to be. If you could, hit that thumbs up. Really helps us out. All right, we'll take our final break. We got a lot more to get to, including the best YouTube comments of the day from you, which means you get to see Jason. We got a lot more to get to. Don't go anywhere. Take a break. We'll be back. You're watching Rob Kendall Show. Do you have a dog but don't have a fenced-in yard? Your HOA won't allow a fence? Worried about having to watch your furry friend anytime you go outside? Avoid the blazing hot summers and freezing cold winters with All-American Dog Fence. All-American Dog Fence is the cost-effective, easy-to-use, in-ground fence system to keep your dog secure and give you peace of mind anytime they're outside. All-American Dog Fence backs their Pet Stop products with a lifetime warranty. Call or text All-American Dog Fence at 317-862-6606 or visit their website at allamericandogfence.com. Mention the Rob Kendall Show and get $200 off a new installation.
Right now, everything's expensive. That includes things you need around the house. If your water heater, water softener, or well pump goes out, or even if your toilet stops working, you could be looking at a major expense. Don't let your next call to a plumber break the bank. Call John at Black Sheep Plumbing. John is a Hoosier lifer who takes pride in and stands behind his work. That's why all basic services and repairs with Black Sheep Plumbing come with a 2-year parts and labor guarantee, with water heaters having a 6-year parts and tank guarantee. Call or text Black Sheep Plumbing for all your needs today and speak directly with John, the owner. 765-315-7558. That's Black Sheep Plumbing at 765-315-7558.
Buying a home or thinking about refinancing? Work with someone local who understands the central Indiana market. Gary Tedrow with Verity Mortgage helps homebuyers and homeowners explore options for purchasing, refinancing, or even consolidating higher interest debt through their mortgage. Gary's approach is simple, clear advice, and personalized guidance so you can make confident decisions. Visit loansbygary.homes to learn more or get started today. You've got nothing to lose but dollars on your mortgage payment. So call for a free, no-obligation quote, 317-695-5179. Gary Tedrow, NMLS number 179207 with Verity Mortgage, NMLS number 70345, an equal housing opportunity lender.
Welcome back. It is the Rob Kendall Show. Thanks for joining us. $80 million to pay people just how long they've been somewhere. Not you did good. Not you did great. Not you did. I mean, if you're a hard worker, aren't you kind of pissed off that you're going to get paid the same as the slug next to you? Like what? How lazy is that?
Welcome to my world.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, we'll switch it up tomorrow. You can talk for 3 hours. Just would Braun run of his business? We always hear what a great business guy Braun is. At any point in Braun's business, was he ever just like, here's money for everyone? Here, catch. Whether you were good or not, here's money for everyone. Like, that's just, I'm going to get in on that tomorrow. I'm not going to spend any more time on it. I'm going to scream about it again tomorrow. Hey, masonry color mismatch, previous repair catching your eye, not happy with the brick color in your home, and ready for a total makeover? Bramwell Mackay Property Services and Consultants offer specialized masonry staining and recoloring. Whether you want to seamlessly blend repairs or completely transform your home's exterior, you want to build something new? Bramwell Mackay's 40-year master masons design and construct custom patios, sidewalks, outdoor summer kitchens, archways, entryways, and more. Bramwell Mackay, BRAMWELLMCKAY, BramwellMackay.com. Beauty built to endure. Don't forget, if you haven't done so yet, help us out. Like, share, subscribe the feed. And what could you not like or want to share or want to subscribe to about the guy that joins us now? Time for the best YouTube comments of the day, brought to you by Black Sheep Plumbing. Jason, hello.
On the wrong side of the screen.
So you just impromptu decided you were going to switch the studios up.
I got bored over the weekend. Oh, shit. There we go.
Are you on?
I'm on. Okay. On the wrong side. But I got audio.
Why did you switch it up?
I got bored over the weekend, and it wasn't aesthetically right in the studio. So
I'd like to point out I was not consulted.
There was a maze people had to walk through to get around, so I put Rob on the back wall, and we've got the interview wall over here on the side. Ethan would approve, I think.
Yeah, no, this is actually good. So one of the things we had to address was, because I think you guys are going to love the sports betting show. It's coming up in August. We had to figure out how we're going to do 3 people.
Right.
And we decided to do 3 people. We'd have to move the deal. I didn't know you were going to do this, which great.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care.
I'd like to surprise you.
Well, it looks fabulous. You know me. Just make sure the camera's on and the audio works, and I'll do this from anywhere. I do it in a broom closet, so it doesn't matter to me where we're at. But that is going to work. And maybe eventually we'll be able to do Statehouse happenings with. Although I kind of like the way I do Statehouse happenings now. with them being separate. But anyway.
Oh yeah, no, that'll have to stay the way it is. But yeah, we can do the betting show though. We'll figure all that out. But yeah, it's different. So I'm not sure I like it. May have to make a switcheroo, do some things. But it's I ran out of gas, so prices are so damn high, couldn't afford to refuel.
All right, tell us about Black Sheep Plumbing.
If your water heater, water softener, well pump goes out, or even if your toilet stops working, you could be looking at a major expense. Don't let your next call to a plumber break the bank. Call John at Black Sheep Plumbing. Black Sheep Plumbing can do the job right at a fraction of the cost of the big guys. And Black Sheep Plumbing says thank you to all military, firefighters, and police officers with an American Heroes discount. Owner John McKinney, he's a Hoosier lifer, takes pride, stands behind his work. That's why all services and repairs with Black Sheep Plumbing come with a 2-year parts and labor guarantee. With water heaters having a 6-year parts and tank guarantee. Give John a call or text 765-315-7558. Also on the website, robkendallshow.com. You can get it there in an emergency should you need it, but you could write it down right now. You know you're going to need it. 765-315-7558, Black Sheep Plumbing.
All right, so let's remind everybody how this works, why we came up with it. When we started the show, we were noticing how many fabulous people were making great comments, and we thought we really should focus on those people. We should showcase those people. Let's do an end of the show where we read the best comments of the day. Then I met John, and he was like, I would love to sponsor that. So we're like, now it's sponsored. Now we have to do it. But the real reason we do it is because it sparks conversation. You guys say things. It gets me to think about things, and then I kind of respond back to you, and it furthers the conversations about topics we've talked about on the show today.
Right. Vic Ferrari, that's what a legend does, Rob. They make executive decisions. Good job, Producer Jason.
Absolutely.
So it was. Actually, I was just bored, sitting around about 10 o'clock Saturday morning like, I got to do something, so I'm not going to clean the house. I'll go.
You got to call AJ's.
Yeah, I do need to call AJ's because, stuff's getting a little out of hand. So going to have to call AJ's. I got to call John at Black Sheep Plumbing.
Yep.
We just maybe have to call Lauren Wilson and sell. I don't know. Just get rid of all of it. I don't know. Let's see. Where are we at here? Oh, yeah. Got to do the where are we at? Okay, here we go. Had to get rid of the live stuff. Go back to the we started off today. Rusted Bolt Garage, good morning, all. Looks like I'm first.
Oh, wow.
I believe that's the first for Rusted Bolt Garage.
So for those of you who are new, we have a strong group of chatters who their goal is always to be the first person to comment in the YouTube chat once the feed is made available every day.
Righto. The Old Man 68, happy Monday. Who had Lindsey Graham passing away before Mitch McConnell on their bingo card?
It's very surprising, wasn't it?
Yeah. Looking forward to another show full of smoke and fire today from Rob and Producer Jason. Believe you delivered your half, Rob.
I think I did. Thank you.
Yep. Rusted Bolt Garage. I got the #1 crown for now. I'm sure I'll lose it today at some point. I don't know. That's the more you comment, the more points you get. Moves you up the chat ladder there. So
now we should also point out at the end of every show, you have a tally of points. We don't know how the points are exactly calculated.
You are correct.
But there's a top chatters list, and I talked to somebody over the weekend. They said, I really kind of love finding out who the top chatters of the day are. So it's a big deal as people strive for points throughout this fabulous program.
Big dealio.
Yes.
All right. Kevin Branham, good morning, Rob and Jason. Carol 1776, good morning, everyone. Looking forward to Rob and the Legend. That'd be me, for those of you that aren't aware.
You're like Cher. You're turning into Cher, Madonna, Elvis, one name, Tupac.
Yeah, they didn't go by Legend, though. All right. Almond Joy Tempo, good morning and happy Monday, y'all. Work has been so busy these last couple of weeks, it's infringing on my participation time. You need to do something about that.
Can't have that. No.
Go have a talk with that boss man. Let him know. You should be listening to Rob.
Absolutely.
All listen together.
It's very depressing that you're allowing that to happen, Almond Joy Tempo.
Put it over the loudspeaker at work. Steve Green with an E. Good morning, all. That'd be more than WIBC did for your show, wouldn't it? Good morning.
Okay, so what Jason's referencing is they played the sports station over they used to play us, and then I think somebody complained. And then
we're tired of hearing Rob
and then
on our station.
They played the sports station.
Right.
So that was always our running joke, was we could not hear the radio station in the building.
Right. All right. Where are we at here? We did Steve Green with an E? No, did we? Yes.
You were going to read him and then you stopped.
Okay. Well, good morning, all. We don't want to miss Steve Green with an E. Good morning, all. Have serious business this morning. I'll be listening and hope to pop into the chat as time permits. Let's see the smoke, Rob.
Yes. I hope the business went well. I hope you made $1 million, and then you could contribute some of that to the support button over Rob Kendall Show.
I think he has a time or two.
Steve Green always does contribute. He's a very generous contributor.
Very much so. Debbie Holcomb. Good morning, beautiful people of the chat. Can't wait to hear Rob's take on everything Indiana politics, especially Jamey Noel.
Yeah, it was Jamey Noel Day. Now, we are hoping to have a few more people from the Noel documentary that are going to be a part of this with us. Still trying to get all that organized, but that's a massive story. Shawn Bostock was awesome. We'll post that interview after we get done here today. That interview was so interesting.
It absolutely was. Jake D3D5B. Morning, everyone. I just stopped at a rest stop, and there's a framed photo of the lieutenant governor on display.
That's what they do.
I'm surprised Diego's not right there next to him.
Yes, usually the governor and the lieutenant governor, I believe, are framed at all the rest stops.
That's a place. All right, Wino Gina. Morning, everyone. Popping in for my thumbs up before driving into the office today. Stay cool, everyone.
Everyone should be like Wino Gina. If you have not given the thumbs up yet, hit the thumbs up. That really helps us out.
All right. No, Tony, Indiana, you're not here too late. We still got your name in. See how that works? All right. ML, no, LD, nope. Bucko 707, good morning, friends. Loving the sunshine. LD Stoltz, start the day off right. Hit that like button.
That's right.
MLM Warriors, the table and sign has changed sides. I like the sign on the table on the other side, but hey, you're set, you're in charge. Yeah, well, that's
I feel like it was over the same shoulder.
No, well, what the difference is, the microphone is now on your left.
Right.
Because Rob's right-handed. So if I ever have to have an emergency or something or can't show up, Rob has to be able to do the show, which he's learning how to do it, but he'd have to forego the cup and the Hulk and Ultimate Warrior, and he'd have to put the mouse pad there, and he'd be able to run the show.
Yep.
But it would be hard for him to do it. That was one of the considerations. I was thinking of Rob.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome, sir. Kenneth E. Gold. Morning, y'all. Tow trucking Monday, so I'll be listening. Excellent. The Old Man 68. It's amazing how everyone becomes a Sergeant Schultz when it comes to Noel and his corruption. I see nothing. It
is amazing, isn't it? How all those people, like, again, I'm not Inspector Clouseau by any stretch, but it was like 30 minutes around the dude, and it was like, oh, this guy seems like he's the mayor.
What about him was he seems a little weird, like the way he talks and everything, but, everybody has their quirks.
One of the things in the documentary that I believe it was his ex-sister-in-law said this.
Mm-hmm.
He never looks right at you. He's always like looking
Is that what
past
you experienced?
Like he's looking through you.
Right. Is that a guilt thing? Like he doesn't want to make eye contact?
No, I just think he's always just scouring. Like, I don't know if it's for the next victim or what, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was like, how people, they'll have like an aura about them. And it was a little bit of that.
Mm-hmm.
It was sort of the way he just carried himself. I mean, it wasn't like there was anything illegal discussed or anything, but you just get a feeling about people where you're like, something seems off about that person. And I mean, that was before he was sheriff. He was still state police officer back then.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he was.
Why was the auditor meeting with him?
Well, okay, so that you don't understand it. Okay. And every statewide office holder, their office is done different. They have different people that have different roles.
Some check on the businesses.
Okay.
Sorry.
No. So let me go back to explain how this all happened. So Tim Berry was the state auditor.
Okay.
Tim Berry was appointed by the governor to become the state party chairman.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Berry had been the treasurer. He was the auditor. He was term limited in the auditor's office. And so he was appointed when Holcomb left Holcomb was the party boss. He left.
Mhm.
The governor appointed Tim Berry to be state party chair.
Okay.
Opened up the auditor's office.
Mm-hmm.
The governor, in his infinite wisdom, decided to appoint a guy by the name of Dwayne Sawyer.
Right. Good old Dwayne.
To be the state auditor.
Didn't last long.
Dwayne was a hell of a nice guy.
Yes, he was.
Still is a hell of a nice guy. He had no business being the state auditor.
Some people don't.
And I had some experience working with Dwayne, and I think they figured out Dwayne didn't really like the way they do the state government is people just take dumps on the floor and like somebody should clean that up. And so Pence is like, well, I already appointed the guy. Yeah, you guys need to figure out how to make it sure so he doesn't implode and make me look bad.
Right.
And so
stick Rob with
they had to figure out like, how do we like make this guy like, how do we help him?
How do we make him auditor like?
So they were like, well, Rob sort of was like the brain of the council. Dwayne likes Rob. Rob, will you come in and work? Okay, great. Like I'm like, oh, this is
because Dwayne had been on the Brownsburg.
He was the president of the town council.
Right.
And I had a lot of great ideas that I was happy to let him get a bunch of credit for because I wanted the stuff done.
Right.
And you're in the center seat. He's the face. Great, go for it.
Sure.
So I'm like, okay, this will be awesome. I'll see how state government is. I was a true believer in Penn, so I was like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
Your office is right across from the governor's office. Oh, this will be wonderful. So one of the things that they came up with a variety.
So you just wanted to be closer to Pence.
Well, it's like, hey, this guy's awesome. Quickly figured out, not so awesome.
Right.
So my job, I had a variety of jobs they brought me in to do. One of them was do the schedule, drive him places. He's able to do his phone calls, whatever, right?
Right. Important work.
So my job was to go to all of these places. People would get put on the schedule. I've been there an hour, right?
Right.
Put so-and-so on the schedule. And this is what happens. And it happens for all the statewide, right? These people meet all the time where it's like, put so-and-so on the schedule. No, you would hope the statewide knows who it is.
Right.
Because if they don't,
why are we here type of thing?
Then you end up going to the NBA Finals with a high-profile known felon who went down for federal bribery charges, right? But the statewide, the people doing the scheduling, whatever, they should know who the person is.
Mm-hmm.
But my job was just put the name on, you drive, you go. And it's like, you're meeting with this guy, Jamey Noel, state police officer. I think he was the actual party chair down there. Okay, great. Drive, go. You sit there. They have their meeting. You keep them on time. We got to go. We got to be to the next event, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was my job. I drove the car, parked it in the applicable parking spot,
right.
Kept an eye on it, kept an eye on him. And it's like I'm in the meeting. I'm just sitting there observing this back, and nobody cares what I think.
Right.
But I'm observing this like, this guy's shady as hell.
And you were correct.
I was 100% correct, yes.
Yeah.
The only one that I never saw it, and I freely admit it, and it was that I got it wrong, was Micah.
Mm-hmm.
Micah's the only one, and I freely admit that was a big miss on my part.
You were bamboozled.
But the rest of them, I'm really good at sizing these people up.
All right. Jim Tennecore. Happy Monday, producer Jason fans and Rob Kendall fans. All right. The old man, 68, more plants over the weekend. Any more, and we'll have to start calling him Rob of the Jungle. No, they're just rearranged. I made them look fuller. It's part of what I do. MLM Warriors, Summer of Rob. Rob is right again.
Thank you.
Would have been about him.
Yep. No.
Yep. Rob's dad taught you well.
That's one of the reasons I have a good radar for shadiness is because of my old man and what he did, because he dealt with the really bad people, and he always said this. And the older I get, the more I think he was right. He always said the people you deal with, him talking to me, are worse than the people that I had to deal with every day, because everybody knew they were criminals.
I gotcha. I need a one-up. Sounds like a new person. Didn't
That's the screen name.
Yeah, I need a one-up.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure what that means.
Very good.
And sometimes I shouldn't read stuff that I don't know what it means.
No, that's the problem. We've talked about that.
Yeah, we've talked about that at length. The comment, though, pretty safe. Didn't know Rob was clairvoyant. Well, you can just read people. That's not clairvoyant.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you...
I mean, he obviously was a scumbag, so maybe it wasn't that. Maybe everybody read that, but the people who benefited from it conveniently just didn't see it.
You know where I got really good with observing people was Broad Ripple. I used to love, we talked about, I used to sit on that outdoor patio thing at Chumley's, and I would just love to watch people like interact. And it really taught me a lot about picking up on people, observing people, figuring out what people's motives and angles were, and just being able to like size people up. Is this person, because they're politicians, they're all, not all of them, but a lot of them are shady to some capacity, but there's levels of it, right? And this guy was like, I mean, here's the thing about Noel. When you guys go watch that documentary, they could have done 6 hours and not scratched the surface on him. Like, I thought they did a good job for we got an hour.
Right.
They could have done 6 hours. There's so much stuff they didn't even get into because you couldn't.
I love the excuse. I mean, he's got 500 cars and all that. Like, well, you know, he said he made an investment and it went pretty well. And, you know, I just, you know, I was getting a pretty good kickback on my job. So I figured, what the hell? His kickback's got to be better than mine. Oh, wait a minute. He didn't say that, did he? All righty. Yeah, you watch that. I went back and watched it twice.
Yeah, it's good.
At first, it's like, okay, wait a minute. That guy, nah. He's either a total moron or he knew exactly what was going on. And there's a few people in that documentary that fit that description. It's like, and I think they knew what was going on.
It's so weird too because
Is it over? Anybody else being indicted? Is there any other investigations? Was it pretty much like, if you give us the dirt on Jamey, there's no charges on you?
Well, this is what Bostock talked about in the interview that Carter had said when he was state police superintendent. Hey, we're here and we're staying here, right? We're going to get to the and then obviously he got ushered out.
Yeah,
and
I think they should have had Carter in the documentary more.
Well, you know, they had Heron, and I'm hoping we can get Heron to come on with us because he's excellent.
We're not going to let this die, are we?
Oh no! Klein, Helter, and Noel. We're never letting that go away. Because the bigger story with Noel is Holcomb and how Holcomb got a free pass.
You notice they showed a few photos of him and Pence, but I didn't, not to ruin it for everybody that hasn't seen it yet, but I don't recall seeing a photo of him and Holcomb, and they were like, buddies, peas in a pod,
it is crazy that other than I think one time in some press conference, Holcomb got asked very briefly about it. The media never pinned Holcomb down on how he didn't know what this guy. He's the governor.
You ever take a ride in his car?
It's just crazy.
Right.
But what was funny for me, because I knew so many people in the documentary, there were people that I knew from like years ago. And, you know, people change over time, right? Like you haven't seen people in years. And, you know, I don't notice people's appearances. But it was that person doesn't look like anything like the way they used to look when I saw them last time.
That does happen to people, Rob. Get older. All right. Where are we at here? Driver 4562. Looked for it. Jason, are you planning to link to it? I believe you meant the documentary. It is on. I can't link to it at the moment, but it's on YouTube. Just type in Jamey Noel.
Yeah, it's the first thing to pop up.
I looked for it for my mom. She wanted to watch it. I just typed in Jamey, Jamey, Noel, Noel, and it should come up there. What was the title? What was the actual?
Something the badge. Something the badge. The Jamey Noel story. I mean, again, WHAS television, which is Channel 11 down there, Southeast Indiana.
Yeah.
They did it. It's very, and you know, they had all the stuff. They had to get some of the body cam footage, but they've been reporting on it for years, so they had all the stuff. So,
all right, Vic Ferrari. There's no more corn in. Oh, I'm sorry. There's more than corn in Indiana. There's corruption at the highest level.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
Rock Laws. I like the table on the other side. Well, we may move it. Driver 4562. I don't know. Rob puts, let's see what, okay, typo here or whatever. I can't read that. Sorry. Something about you being on the left side.
Okay, well,
and he's not comfortable with that.
If you don't spell it properly,
Jason
can't read it.
So I think it was just a word left out. People get going fast. Yeah, I understand that. All right, Joseph Norris. Hey, who moved the table? Rob, isn't that triggering your OCD?
It's fine. Like my real thing. Okay. When I don't have to work with anybody, it's much better for me because it's all my space. One of the major things that trigger, okay, for those if you don't have obsessive compulsive disorder, mine is not like crippling. There are people who are crippled by OCD, like they have to wash their hands 80 times a day. They can't leave their house. Like
a little different than having your table.
I don't have that, but I do have things like, well, I will check the alarm 5 times before I leave the house, or I'll check a locked door or the refrigerator, make sure it's shut or whatever.
Right.
But in an environment when there are stressors, like there's things that will stress your OCD. On my old job, the
The camera used to piss you off.
The work environment was the general work and I did not like the way that show was structured. And that was a general stressor, which exacerbated, is that the word, everything else. So it was like there were things that weren't that big a deal. Here, Jason told me he'd moved the stuff. Now, if I'd have walked in and he hadn't told me, that would have bothered me. But
I almost didn't, but you called yesterday. I thought, well, I'll go ahead and let him know.
But I knew, so I was okay, and it's all my stuff, right? It's not.
Well, I felt like the right hand being free would almost be like a freedom thing for you.
Yeah, it's fine. It doesn't bother me either way, as long as I know what's going on. Yes, the camera used to bother me. The camera used to bother me at the old place because people would mess with the camera.
Right.
It's like, don't touch the camera.
That's what I tell you now.
It's like, don't mess with the camera. Because then we got to figure out how to put it back together, and then it doesn't work, and all this, and then it just. So the way OCD works, and it's, again, various levels for people. Mine is very low on the scale compared to a lot of people. But it's like your brain is screaming at you, basically. Like, if you could just picture your brain screaming at you, that's basically what it is. Like, no matter whatever thing you get on, it's like your brain just screams at you that it's not done well enough, or it's not done right enough, or but this thing, it has to be this way.
Since this is perfection, it's hard to.
So, like an example, and Jason has worked with me many years. When I get on something, I need it done. Like, I can't get off it until I've got it done. So people don't work on our time.
No, they don't. That guy call you back yet? Call you back yet? Call you back yet? Rob, it's Sunday morning. No, people don't work on Sunday.
And so,
I do.
Like I will sit down, and it's like, okay, like my life is like a checklist. Check. I got to get all these things done. If something doesn't get done, it bothers me to the point where I can't really go on to the next thing until I check that box. And to me, things should just move fast. And for a lot of people, like 99% of the population, they don't move fast. And so, yes, Jason actually had that conversation over the weekend. Somebody that hasn't called back in. Who's supposed to call?
Tarnished Badge or Tarnish the Badge.
Tarnished the Badge. That's the
Tarnished the Badge. There we go. That's the name of the documentary.
Yeah.
All right. MLM Warriors, thank you for explaining why the table was changed.
I do want to come back, though.
Charles Luty, yes. Now, can we change it back?
No, we're not changing anything again, because then that will start to mess with me.
We're tweak some things.
We're leaving this as it is right now.
Not sure I'm real comfortable just yet, but we'll. You're a big boy, Rob. You deal with it.
You're gonna start to trigger it if you do too much stuff.
Well, okay, we'll stop talking about it then. All right, let's see. The old man 68. Producer Jason must have taken his Peyton Manning figurine back. So the WWF superstars are back.
Right, it's over there.
I did, because I didn't quite know if he would start getting wild with his hand and knocking stuff over. And Peyton's already got a broken finger. Looks like an AI doll over there. So I didn't. We're protecting Peyton, just like Jim Irsay did, shipping him off to Denver so he wouldn't get killed like Luck. All right, Debbie Holcomb. Rob now talks with his right hand. The table needs to be on the same side as the microphone so he doesn't knock anything off the table. That was my concern, but if you knock them off, whatever.
I am somewhat constricted here with this microphone.
You feel constricted?
Well, I mean, I'm not saying that I feel it doesn't matter to me. We've been through this many times. Just make sure that works. That's it. That's all that matters.
It works. I think they can hear you.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Here we go.
I will say this. Let me come back to the OCD for a second.
Okay.
It's one of the reasons the show was successful all those years, and this show is successful, because
attention to detail.
Once we get into something, man, I don't get off it.
We're not just going to go on a blank wall. There we go. Pam Kendall.
Oh, there's my mom.
Mom's popping in. I love you guys. So she's talking about the chat, not Rob.
Oh, yeah.
I love you guys. So perceptive. Rob does talk with his right hand. Interesting things have moved. Ask the legend.
I
love your mom.
When I was a kid, you know what my OCD was when I was a kid? My bed used to have to be perfectly up against the wall.
Oh, okay.
That was like my thing.
No headboard?
What's that?
You didn't have a headboard?
No, like a twin bed, right? When you're a kid, and the side of the bed had to be perfectly up against the wall.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, Driver 4562. That documentary is going to be on after this wraps up.
Yeah, I
go
watch it.
Yeah, you've got a few minutes here. You can hold off there and go watch it here in about 10 minutes. Okay, now we get into, boy, we have not even,
sorry.
We've got a lot of stuff here. Talking about Rob's OCD, we missed out on a lot of taxpayer stuff. Okay, T. Heller. Hearty thanks to Shawn Bostock.
That's right.
Bostock. May he inspire similar deep digging in other counties. All right. Moving on. We get off the Jamey stuff here. Well, actually, though, Steve Green with an E, this is disgusting. Kevin Branham, this is the best interview that you've had, Rob.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. And
even better than the one I did with Trump?
I don't know. Vic Ferrari, damn. Great interview. Bowden JM, great interview segment. Steve Green with an E, great segment. Sue Seifert, nothing like seeing government is just where the mob took over. I've said that a long time. Dude of Sauce, is Rob wearing Skechers? Yes, he's
been wearing Skechers for 5 years.
The old man, great segment. Bob Schwarm, certain drugs can make murder look like a heart attack. Talking about
Lindsey Graham.
Yeah. Sue Seifert, what if Graham didn't have his last breath here? I trust nothing from the media. Where had he been and what happened there? Meaning overseas.
Well,
Ukraine.
Somebody pointed this out. They said because of everything COVID was basically caught as a lie or a fib or an untruth or however you want to spin it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people are skeptical of everything. Now, he clearly has a family history of this. You know, his father passed away from something very similar at about the same age.
Mm-hmm.
So, doesn't mean there wasn't some shenanigans. There is a history. He's not a young guy anymore.
Nope. No spring chicken there. That's you got to pay attention to those arteries. Almond Joy Tempo, the Sizzler. Rob made a Sizzler comment. Vic Ferrari, Sizzler. LD Stoltz, has Mitch ever had dinner at the Sizzler? Almond Joy Tempo, Sizzler had such a good salad bar and the best garlic Texas toast. The old man 68, we going Sizzler. Let's see what else we got here. Also, where's Almond Joy Tempo? She popped in with the, dang, Rob, you got me thinking about the Texas toast they serve at the Sizzler. I grew up in Maryville, and we had one there. It was so good back in the day.
That and the Ponderosa. Those were the two.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. And a lot of good stuff from everybody. We'll leave it with Debbie Holcomb.
Ah, yes.
You asked Debbie about Braun giving away $80 million.
That's right.
To all his people. We don't have money, Debbie Holcomb, $80 million. We don't have money to spend for the disabled. I get they have had no pay raise in years, but wow. What line item did this come from? Braun's using department funds for cabinet's pay. And she says, don't get me started. Gross is a very kind word, Rob. Yeah, so Debbie not happy about that. But yeah, that's, bonuses. And he's not even paying his people on his staff out of his fund. $80 million would go a long way to help a lot of people.
Yeah, and to me, the thing is not, it's like, hey, merit pool, whatever. It's just handing people money. And the one that gets me is the person who's been there for 6 months could get $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane to me. You can't even put that on your resume.
All right, we got our points here for the end of the day.
Right.
Number 10, Rusted Bolt Garage, 200 points, tied with Charles Ludi with 200 points and MLM Warriors with 200 points. Number 7, Debbie Holcomb, 225. Also tied with Vic Ferrari, LD Stoltz, Sue Seifert, Robert Schwartz, all with 225 points. We get to number 2, Kevin Branham, 275 points.
Ooh.
Number 1 today, the winner, the old man. 300 points.
How about that?
There we go. And let's see. And, of course, what do we have here? Over 40 people in the chat. So awesome. We do appreciate it, guys. The chat brought to you by Black Sheep Plumbing. That'll do it for me. We'll see you tomorrow. So long, everybody.
Before you leave today, if you haven't done so yet, give us that little thumbs up button. Really does help us. Share the feed out if you're feeling super generous. That's how we get the word out about the Rob Kendall Show. We'll have that Shawn Bostock interview loaded up here in just a few minutes once we get off the air as well. You guys have an awesome rest of your Monday. We will see you right back here Tomorrow, Matt Gentry's scheduled to be with us. That's always a fun one. All right, for producer Jason, I'm Rob Kendall. You've been watching, you've been listening to Rob Kendall Show.